Hello everyone, and welcome to the Epilogue of Dungeons & Dragons, the Second Age. How are we all doing?
Oh my god.
Hi Dave, long time no
So
see.
good.
You been alright?
Wow.
I know you
Dave.
probably
Great
had some very
start.
quiet Hearts of Iron game.
It's, yeah, so, a little deviation from the standard format. Today we're going to be summarising and wrapping up the ending to our 5-year-long campaign To the Day.
To the day.
To the day.
Yes.
Would
Yep.
not have done it better if we planned for timing.
Really.
No,
And we
Yeah.
really did not plan.
we really
Yeah.
did not plan. We were like, literally, like, what, 2 weeks ago? We were like, oh yeah, you know, what date is everyone free? And everyone was like, oh yeah, well, we've got this going on, we've got this going on. And we literally filled in a thing to be like,
Yep.
we're free on this date,
Yep.
and we just happened to pick the 10th.
We
And then,
did.
like, 2 days ago, Ferrous was like, hang on a minute.
Had Jayla not been busy, we would have done this a week earlier and ruined it.
Yep.
You're
So thanks for being
welcome
busy, Jayla.
for being busy.
To be fair, I was also doing something last Sunday, so...
Oh yes, you were, that's
Fair
true.
enough.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I guess, yeah, without further ado, does anyone want to, I guess, recap the conclusion to our adventure?
Well,
In very loose terms.
yeah, well, we had our grand confrontation with the Lich who was behind the more bold goings-on, and as we later learned, was craving the destruction of just everything. Fucking everything. We had our grand climactic battle. After lots of twists and turns, things went wrong, then we got reinforcements, things got dicey at times, but in the end, we came out victorious and successfully banished the Lich into the same prison that trapped his once master, Tharizdun.
Indeed.
Through a use of the spell Wish, we ensured that he was trapped in there with him forever. Hopefully forever, anyway. At least until
That's the
some other
idea.
crazy Lich tries to break both of them out. But that's not going to happen for like hundreds of years, so that's fine. And then, of course, well, what happens next is why we're all here.
Indeed.
Of course, there was celebrations, but what happened in the long term afterwards? That is yet to be determined.
yes.
But now is where we make it canon.
An excellent question. Alright, I'm just gonna see if I can find a...
I'm sure Dave has had all sorts of fan theories going.
I'll
Put a lot of faith in Dave.
I'll have to catch
Yeah.
up with that.
I did actually, I have actually spoken to Dave
Nope.
since
Speaking.
the recording of
Speaking.
the last, our last session.
Nice.
I did have to explain to him that no, don't worry, it's not that Ferrous is uploading the epilogue really, really late. We genuinely hadn't recorded it yet.
Yes.
It's just straight
Oh, man.
not done.
It's
If-
straight up not been recorded.
If I had $1 for every time somebody's asked me if we've done our epilogue yet, I'd have $3. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened 3 times.
That's more than I thought. Honestly.
Yeah.
I think I've been asked at least 5 or maybe more.
Wow, you've been
Damn.
asked more than I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many?
Actually, hang
I
on.
mean, we have more than one viewer.
I'm.
Like, what?
We have more than one fan. We don't have more than one viewer.
Oh, right.
In fairness, Minnie, I think I have also been asked more than 3 times, but I've been asked multiple times by the same people.
Oh, that's fair.
I'm only counting the number of people who've asked me.
Okay.
Understandable.
Yeah, I've been asked by several people, including Mel. So
Ah,
I've literally been asked by 0 people. So
wow.
Also, I mean, yes. So, I mean, no, I got asked once by my partner, but that is purely because my partner is on the team of when is Elizabeth going to get a girlfriend?
I see.
Fair enough.
Excellent. Right, yeah. So, to summarise, when the Amber Eagle returned from the moor, they knew that their victory had changed the future of the material plane for the better. With Azrael's plot thwarted, the Dread Legion in disarray, and the artifacts of Tharizdun safe in their hands, our heroes celebrated. However, whilst the most epic tale of the Second Age ends there, the story of our heroes does not. As the world continued on, so did the 4 companions, either returning to lives long put on hold, or crafting new ones for themselves. And with that, can I get a volunteer to be the first one to tell their hero's story?
Well, if no one else wants to go first, I will happily go first.
Okay, go for
Um,
it.
Especially given I have two tales to tell. One being a lot shorter than the other, admittedly. So we will start with the shorter one. What does everyone's favorite retired adventurer, Vondal, aka Von Dad, do
Oh,
afterwards?
I was gonna say let's come back to
Ooh,
Vondal because
you want to come back to Vondal?
I've got an entry for him much later.
Ah, I see. So I will start
So
with Elizabeth.
yeah, start with player characters.
Okay. Well, Elizabeth. Initially, not a lot changes in Elizabeth's life. I don't think. For the first year, she spends her time setting up the teleportation circle that Grim wanted in the Amber Eagle
Oh,
Keep,
yep.
and she actually knuckles down into writing her books, her books some more, writing her collection of histories, finding more works to actually, quote and that. It's a very brief summary of world history, given how much of it there is, and especially how few source materials there are for certain parts of it. But it's akin to Herodotus's histories in the real world. It's less a original writing of stories not yet told, and more a collection of stories which she is collating in one place to try and preserve the sources. Should those disappear, but her work stays. So she does her best, collecting as many different sources and records as she can, quoting and summarizing them in her own book, and publishes several volumes, presumably, of these books. Giving, and also like where there is a lack of texts, she's trying to theorize based on what she's got. But yeah, she's mostly just trying to preserve things, because paper records, they disappear eventually. Which is why she wants to keep it written down, because you can learn a lot from the past. Of course, she's also spending a lot more time with Karina, the chess friend. And the two do become quite close. Siddhani remains a friend. They still invite Siddhani for drinks every now and then. But of course, eventually, Elizabeth and Karina do become a romantic couple.
Oh.
Partners.
They do become partners in the end.
Nice.
Eventually, Elizabeth wins a game of chess, but Karina still wins more often than not. But obviously, at the end of the year, the Amber Eagle's teleportation circle is set up, and she's finished. She's finished all her writing. So at this point, she has a new idea of what to do, and she starts a bit of an expedition to return to Latherman's Cay. And see if she can scavenge what she can from underneath the volcanic rock that likely covers the island. So she recruits. So over time, she recruits several scholars and wizards, soldiers, archaeologists, workers, all under the banner and hope of recovering everything they can from after the eruption. During this expedition, Elizabeth again spends a lot of time working with Angelica, who actually tells Elizabeth about her previous employers, who were basically, please correct me if I'm getting this wrong, Ferrous, but they were basically an organization dedicated to finding lost knowledge that should stay lost.
Correct.
Protecting knowledge that should not see the light of day. And Elizabeth is more than happy to have someone like that in her crew. So Angelica becomes one of the leading members, of this expedition, and the two of them spend a lot of time together deciding what to preserve and what needs to be locked away or even just destroyed. So they spend a lot of time going through that together. They become friends, nothing more, but Elizabeth's expedition, continues on the island for some time, right up until eventually there's not much left to discover anymore. They've excavated as much as they can. The island's mostly empty. And again, Elizabeth feels lost for a little bit. But it's probably around that time she decides, you know what? Big empty island. Perfect place to start something new. And she decides, why not try and make her own school of magic?
As one does.
Yeah, as one does. Not everyone wants to travel to Argentellorand to learn magic, especially those who are not of elven blood. They might struggle to get to Argentellorand, let alone study there. She knows, of course, the struggles of the tiefling professor who has helped us on so many occasions.
Yes.
So yeah, Latham's Cave becomes a location for Elizabeth's own school of magic.
Nice.
Okay.
And yeah, she basically spends all her time there spends basically the rest of her life there, living on the island with Karina and working hard to keep her school and its students safe.
Excellent.
Good.
Cool.
I believe also you mentioned an interest in returning to the elemental plane of air at some time.
Yes, she
So-
definitely. She waits as long as her parent deems necessary for things to have cooled down there, and eventually does make a return just to visit because, well, she spent ages thinking she was the only Genasi, and now, well, it turns out the world's living on the elemental plane. So she probably spends as much time there as she can, but also presumably still has to hide the fact that her father is, or her parent is, who they are.
Yes.
But she's happy to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Cav. Who next?
Yeah, I guess I could. I guess I could go.
Okay.
So, Grim. It's fairly simple. Kind of achieved what he set out to do. Not quite sure what to do with himself. Like initially, like he goes back to the keep, trying to be more of take over some of Fundal's duties potentially, because he's supposed to be in charge there. But as time goes on, the inevitable happens, and he starts setting out doing things again. Like I think one of the more notable things would definitely be the promise he made to Tiff to start, at least attempt to start mapping out the Feywild and and such things. Just map the world, or well, the plains.
Yeah.
As an excuse to get out. And yeah, whilst that's going on, just having keep the Amber Eagle growing, have more tournaments every year, at least once a year, because man, that was a pretty big hit, the first one.
It was indeed.
And and that's basically the core of it. Just can't really let go.
No.
Like must keep going.
Adventurer never truly retires.
No, don't worry. If you ask him, he's retired.
Of course, of
Great.
course. In the same way that Lathari is retired.
Exactly. just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you also mentioned when we talked about it, perhaps reaching out and keeping an eye on some of the more
Oh,
tenuous situations around the
yes,
material plane.
yes. Trying to as I think as like we had established as a group, the plane can't take care of itself. Like material plane, like
Right.
if we hadn't intervened like several times, like they would have been in big trouble. Um, so the idea was that like the best description we could come up with was that we'd essentially turn into a form of shield,
Oh hell yeah!
which
Yeah.
we thought you'd appreciate, Luka.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
Check
Just
it out.
just making sure nothing funky goes on, trying to like a little bit like Elizabeth trying to take care of objects that may or may not uh, be a danger. And yeah, and
Keeping dangerous objects out of the wrong hands.
yeah,
Literally shield.
exactly.
Mm.
Amazing.
And probably, yeah, we'd probably end up pissing off a bunch of people in the process. But hey,
Oh, of course. I mean, we always do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do we not piss people off?
yeah, like honestly,
When do we not piss people off? When we're getting romantically involved with them, apparently.
Well,
Well,
I mean, I think
I feel like there's a
Or
lot
at
of
least
people
trying
that
to, no.
like there are a
No,
lot
I
of
know.
people that appreciate our work.
Yeah.
Shit.
well,
When are we not pissing people off? When we actively help that particular person, we just piss off everyone around them when we do that.
Yeah.
Right.
But hey, look, we were just trying to make that person happy. It's all right. The others can just stand in line. It's their turn next.
stand in line.
Unless what they want is to kill the first person, in which case that's not on.
Well, yeah, well, like that's kind of problem. Like I feel like that then you just become a threat, and then we have to lock you up. It's just the way it goes.
That's the way it
Uh,
goes. It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Exactly.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a time.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It was also
Noticed-
partially
I've noticed-
inspired by the Order of the Golden Lion.
Yes.
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 Because they're respected across everywhere, and they're like, well, what if we could do that? But it hopefully built on respect, but maybe
Fandal would be proud of you.
maybe sometimes more built on the fact like we shouldn't mess with you, depending on the kind of rulers that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, I mean, respect can be a little bit of like, I don't want to make you mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely come to talk about the
Oh, no.
the effect that has further down
Great.
later on in the
Great.
session.
Yep.
Right.
Well,
Who's next?
Do you want to go or do you want me to go, Jayla?
I can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Works for me.
I mean, Kelariis is kind of all over the place. I don't think she ever. I think as much as she quote unquote settles down after the whole big thing that happened, it's more that she returns to the Amber Eagle base a lot, but goes out to do other things. I think one of the things that she definitely makes a priority of is going home eventually. It probably isn't the first thing she does, but goes home eventually to like visit her family. And she's told Hayasa that she would gladly like take her around to other places because she hasn't seen a lot that isn't the Scale Coast. But I don't think that she necessarily has a lot of specific places to visit. Mostly just goes place to place, and it's just like, well, is there some shit going on here? Well, we'll help out. Take care of some things going on. In between, she's definitely like back with the Amber Eagle and assisting where she can. I think she's probably like, she's not a permanent tutor, quote, or like trainer of any sort, but she definitely like when she's back in the area, it definitely helps out if people would like her to do so. I would imagine that she's at least somewhat versed in swords at this point to be considered as such after everything that's
Only
happened.
somewhat.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Turns out it was just all brute force. It's like if I just swing harder.
If you swing really hard, you don't have to worry about things now.
Well, that is a style.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a style. I don't necessarily think it's Kelariis's because she does do sword and
Yeah.
forward, but
Mm.
and that to me, like the swing hard speaks more to like two-handed, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I think a lot of it is actually like taking the Sera out to do things the way that like she said she would all this time, but it was kind of dangerous to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that like the notable places that she probably goes back to is to visit Tritherion, because she said she would do that. And I think that we have a bit of a conversation there about like, hey, so like I know that we had that whole like dream thing, but also that was a lot. And I think I'll take Thalithsyr if she would like to come along with. I think that we came to the conclusion that she'd probably come with for that, Ferrous. Yeah. I'm sure that that's a great experience for her and not at all terrifying.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
Probably both.
Probably a little bit of both. But also going back to I am so sorry, Ferrous. I forget the name of the little settlement up on the mountain.
Nachaki.
That yes. I'd like to go back to help them out for a bit, especially because now we're not in a rush to go and do other things. I'd like to check in how they're doing and also maybe keep an eye on the dragon up there because I'm sure that that will be definitely totally fine the entire time that we're all alive and not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah, but I guess for Kelariis it's really just a lot of doing the same things that we've been doing, maybe just on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Continuing to be the roving paladin that you always were.
Yes. But this time with the Sera, with my
Yeah.
You have a
I guess she's my squire. Yeah, I guess she's my
Yeah.
squire.
You're now a hedge knight, basically.
No.
A hedge
She's
paladin.
way cooler than a hedge knight.
A legendary hedge knight.
She's a fucking. I mean, she's literally a
I mean,
god.
let's be honest.
Okay, I'm not literally
Okay,
a
you're not
god.
listening. But let's be honest as well. If she doesn't have have a reputation as possibly the greatest swordswoman alive, I think that's selling her short.
I don't know. The title is contested. I think.
Like, I feel like
Yeah.
Kelariis isn't exactly known for her sword work, mostly just her like personality and strength.
Yeah.
I don't know. You never seen her smite and do like
Yeah.
60 damage.
60. That's lowballing a bit, isn't it?
Well,
Well, like, even
I
then-
like the idea of like one day Kelariis and Arya go out together and Kelariis is like, oh no, I'm just like here to help out, and Arya's just like my hype man, just like, have you seen her smite?
have you
Yeah.
seen this dragonborn?
Look how cool she is.
She's just stopping people in the street.
Just-
Like,
just-
hey,
Just doing the pose where you've got like arms stuck out to the side, like the Shia LaBeouf, like.
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Kelariis Greysurge?
And I'm like, oh no, please don't.
Kneel, peons!
kneel before her. No, probably
She's
wouldn't
not
do
into that.
No, that's
Very-
Luka. That's not Arya.
but- yes, there's a difference.
Like Luka's like that. Arya's more like, yeah, she's pretty cool. And then everyone who knows Arya is like, shit, she never praises anyone. Holy shit, this Dragonborn must be
Yep.
something.
I mean, we're friends. Arya and Kelariis are friends.
Yeah,
I
we're
know.
bros.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyone who knows who knows Arya would be like, Arya very rarely praises anyone. This Kelariis must be real to something.
Mm.
And
Of
they're
arms.
right.
Speaking of Arya,
Hello.
Last but certainly not least.
Yeah. So after it all goes down, things kind of settle down a little bit. One of the big things that I had on my list for Arya to do was like go down to Cindershell and like spend time with Chaldrum because we haven't really gotten to do that a whole lot.
Bit of quality time.
Bit of quality time, getting to know you time.
Wow.
No, I am saying that in the most literal sense.
Oh yeah,
I know
I know. But
Terrible people.
Yeah.
Oh.
Taking
It's just
it the
funny
wrong
to hear
way.
Yeah.
it worded that way.
It's just it was less. It was also less the wording and more your tone of voice as you said it.
No, knowing socially, not biblically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
And while she is down there, I think she would make an effort, because the thing with Jaldrum is he wants, like, I wouldn't say universal peace, but he wants people to get along between the races. So I think she would make it known that, like, she is an elf and she supports the cause. Which would probably ruffle some feathers to have a full-blooded elf assisting a drow in his political endeavors.
You're more than just a full-blooded elf. You're an Eladrin, which is even
I
more
am an
important.
Eladrin. Yes.
Yeah, the
And not only that, but I mean, we have those special wards from.
I mean, yeah.
The,
at this point, a legendary hero.
Well, I don't know if she'd tout that, but I mean, you're not wrong. A well-known elf. Let's go with that. And while we were talking about this, Ferrous and I were joking. Well, he was like, if you do this, like, people will try to actively murder Jaldrum, but I was like, great.
Well, we'll see how that turns out later.
Yeah, but I was like, that's fine, because I am strong enough to protect him.
Yeah.
So whilst I would be aiding and abetting, I don't know why I said abetting, but while I would be aiding him in his political goals, I would also be low-key bodyguard. Because I would need to be, because he is exposed because of me.
So you're sleeping in the same bed purely for protection. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's for protection. Look, there's only one bed. What are we supposed to do?
The classic problem.
The classic problem.
The classic trope.
We don't even sleep, so there's that.
Oh no, there's
So
only
yeah, I guess
one
both
bed.
of you don't sleep. Good lord.
Correction.
Lord.
You don't need to sleep. You can if you want to.
We could
Yeah.
sleep, but
You
we
don't need to, and yet you're both
probably
asleep in
won't.
the bed.
It's innocent. It's fine.
Yep.
It was cold.
But
Get your mind
yeah,
out
it's
of
cool.
Dave.
Well, even though Arya is like a winter Eladrin, so she like thrives.
It's even colder.
It's
Yeah.
even colder.
Even colder. It's
Yeah.
like the coldest bed.
The most cold bed. Anyway, so while she's doing this, though, we were talking about Lyra, because I mean, cities are not really Lyra's place. She's a giant direwolf. She'd be pretty bored just like sitting around while Arya, like, I don't know, goes to meetings and shit. And so we were talking, and Rob was like, well, he was like, because the reason she kind of joined up with us is because, so she's, Melora's like daughter, and her whole goal is to like find balance in nature. And so obviously, like, any monstrosities or like evil beings are a disruption to the balance because they aren't meant to exist. And he suggested that while Arya's just kind of chilling in Cindershell, Lyra would be like running around like defeating monsters.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Because we were thinking, because like the spirits I summon, when I summon like the pack of wolves that I summon sometimes, I mean, those are like real spirits that just like exist in the world.
Correct.
So technically, they could come to her aid whenever she like calls them. So we were like, oh my god, there'd be this pack of magical direwolves running around killing monsters.
And she is the alpha.
Yeah.
And she would lead that while Arya's just like doing her stuff in Cindershell. And I was like,
Netflix
that is
animated
the
series
best.
coming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lyra and the wolves.
Yeah. So that's
Surely you'd
that's
call
how
it Dogs Out.
No.
Dogs out.
Arya let the dogs out.
No.
Great.
No, that would be terrible. But yeah, so that's how we kind of landed on for Lyra, is she would just control this pack of wolves who would be going around.
Wolves.
Oh, okay. Better name.
Destroying
Okay,
monsters.
better name for the Netflix series. Cry Havoc. There you go.
What?
You call it Cry Havoc because after the classic phrase, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
I mean, surely the series is just called Wolfpack.
That's a good
Yeah, I
name.
guess.
Wolf pack.
Wolfpack.
No,
I know,
wolf.
I thought
Wolf.
there might be like there's probably a submarine movie somewhere called Wolfpack.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But besides going to see Jaldrum, something else I had on my list was spending time with her family, because she kind of ran away from her family at a fairly young age. So I think she would probably go back and just like be with her family, and like try to get to know them and her brother, because she's like been feral since she was young.
Feral.
Since you were young.
I feel like feral is an apt description for her.
It is, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Just going feral. But yeah, and then she would also, I mean, she wouldn't like totally leave the Amber Eagle. Like, I think she would probably eventually find a balance between all the places she wants to be, because she still wants to like go fight monsters and do all that stuff. Because she is also a follower of Melora, so that's like Melora's guidance. And so yeah, she would just kind of split her time between Cindershell and helping a political revolution, and Amber Eagle work, and then spending some time with her family up in
That is a wild
Feywild.
work-life balance, isn't it?
It's pretty wild. I was trying to figure out if there would be a way to like easily teleport. I mean, obviously we have the teleport circle at the Amber Eagle now, which is great.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll find a wizard that can actually help us out without having
Yeah.
to rely on them.
Because that was what I was hoping, is that like Arya could like convince Elizabeth to set up one in Cindershell.
Elizabeth-
Well,
yeah, Elizabeth-
once it's there, it
yeah.
can be opened at will to various destinations.
Yeah.
So.
Well, right, but I'm talking about getting back
Yes.
to.
Well, yeah. Eventually, Elizabeth just like makes everyone like the transport thing comes up. Elizabeth just starts making everyone magic rings that let them cast teleport at will.
Oh, nice.
That's
That'd be
true,
sick.
yeah.
There you go.
You can
Yeah,
do
that'd
that.
be
Hell
quite
yeah.
helpful, especially for Kelariis.
Yep.
See, that's what I'm
And
talking about.
Yeah, and that means you can bring up to 8 people with you. So
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Mm.
It's a lot.
It would need to be recharged by a wizard every now and again, but
Well, good thing I know a wizard.
Yeah.
that is true.
yeah, and she has a whole school of wizards.
Yes. And
Oh
so yeah,
God, Elizabeth uses that as like a test for them.
Charge the ring, student. No,
okay.
Can't believe.
no, she wouldn't do that.
I mean, hey, it's good practice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
free real estate.
it's also an important job though. So
Yeah, you wouldn't want to get it wrong.
no.
Well, that's the good thing with magic. Usually it just fizzles instead of goes wrong.
Does it?
Teleports
Sometimes.
not so much.
Yeah, no, teleports
Yeah,
can go
okay.
very wrong.
That's true, I guess.
Teleports is like, oh, I want to go to a nice grassy field. And they're like, oh, look, I'm in this grassy field. Unfortunately, the grassy field is right in the middle of the fucking elemental plane of fire. Fuck.
I don't know that there's any grassy fields in the middle of the elemental plane of fire, but yes, that point.
Yeah. Go to the grassy fields outside my home, and oh, I'm outside some grassy fields, and I'm surrounded by like fucking giants. This is bad.
Just on Mount Celestia, like,
Like
This
this
is a
is fine.
I've made a mistake.
Yep.
Alright.
Kelariis tries to teleport to a little town to help them out and accidentally goes to the elemental plane of Earth on a different mountain.
It's like, fuck.
Okay, so with that, the player characters covered. Let's move on to a few key individuals, and by a few, there's a lot.
There's a whole list.
So I will run through this, and I'll pause after each character so that people can add in things if they want. But yes, loosely in the order that you encountered the characters, with some fiddling about because it didn't work nicely, and I wanted to group some of them together because they had shared stories. But yes, first, what do the fates have in store for Illaran Cyanodel? So, inspired by Arya's actions to broker peace between warring factions, Illaran quickly became disillusioned with the Wild Hunt and its reluctance to see beyond past grudges. Together with Simone, the pair became freelance rangers, offering protection and training to those who travel the forest borders, whilst simultaneously upholding their own values. As well, with time and his sister's assistance, Illaran would eventually repair his relationship with his father, realizing that they both had struggled to handle their grief in a difficult time. Whilst they both still remained distant, they both respected that their collective aims were to protect the elven people, not least of all from themselves. Speaking of Simone, as a free agent, Simone used much of her newfound lease on life to travel between the borders of her forest home for the first time as a civilian. Although she often did not make it further than the outlying human settlements, on occasion she travelled with Arya to Cindershell Landing, in an effort to learn from the people she once considered her mortal foes. One evening, alone with Illaran beneath the boughs of the Owl's Grove outside Silverbrook, Simone produced a pair of silver bands that she had purchased in secret while visiting Cindershell.
Oh my god.
Head bowed, she offered one to Illaran and asked him to marry her. He accepted without hesitation.
Of course she asked. Why the fuck did he want to pop the
getting
question?
married.
Can't believe it.
Oh.
After all this time.
Yeah. So,
I can't believe they just like fucked off from the Wild Hunt and were like, we are our own rangers now.
Yeah, I respect that though. That's good.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good on them.
It is.
Yeah. Smash the sister.
you inspired a change of attitude in several of the people in this list.
Yep.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
That's fun. That's fun and also a little concerning, but you know, depending.
It's fine.
Moving on, Exarch Evelius of Felkir and his daughter Lady Yelenia. After the Amber Eagle departed Argentellarind following the completion of the Cartographer, Exarch Evelius of Felkir and his daughter set about trying to repair the rapidly forming cracks in the Elven Kingdom's political landscape. With numerous factions demanding a return to the isolationist policies that had seen the elves cut off from the wider world for centuries. Many attitudes shifted and changed. Together, the pair worked tirelessly within their communities to keep everyone safe. However, not every conflict can be won with blades and magic, and this one was no exception. Despite many dark hours, Evelios and Yelenia did not falter, and with time, the divides did heal, bringing the elven people back from the precipice.
I don't know if a return to form is what I exactly wanted, but you know, fine.
Well, they managed to keep it from going
Worse.
into danger.
That's true.
They stopped them from going supreme isolationist again.
Yes.
Yeah, which is, I guess, you know, better than
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they won't change in the way that we might want them to overnight.
No. Probably will take multiple generations, honestly.
Yeah, which is
and
in
for
elven
elves,
time.
that's like millennia. So
It's a long time.
yeah, give them
Yeah.
time. A long time.
So, onto the escapades of the companions of V, Lily, Goldenleaf, and Mac Farwalker. While still technically a member of the Druid Circle, Lily chose to remain a travelling companion of V, telling the world about the importance of maintaining the natural order of Gaia. Alongside Mac, the small coven watched their little operation grow into something much larger. Of course, it would take many more years than either of them had to spare for their goals to reach fruition, but that did not concern them. After all, the teachings of Gaia had taught them that even once their mortal lives had worn thin, they still had a very important decision to make. One that will perhaps get mentioned later on.
Interesting.
Gasp.
This next one intrigues me.
I was going to say, how can you tell what the next one is? But I guess you just mean in general.
Yeah, you like literally gave us the list.
Oh yes, no, I did. Yes, I did give you a list, didn't I? Sorry, I forgot I did that. I was like, how do you know what the list is?
We just know
Yeah.
Ferrous.
So
We
Yeah.
read your mind.
It's
So,
been 5 years. We
it's-
just know.
Asked us if there's anyone you've missed.
Yes, that's true. I'd forgotten I'd done that. So yes, the story of Oriana Allwild, Temerity. After the victory in the Abyss, Temerity returned to Emberoth with a sense of satisfaction. The fiends who had caused her torment since childhood had taken a blow from which they would never recover. But revenge is a comfort that rarely lasts. Temerity could still see vestiges of the same selfish evil that had created the Five Talon Gang in every shadowy alley she passed. Even in the peaceful town of Emberoth, there were cruelties that were hidden behind closed doors. Creative of mind, however, it wasn't long before Temerity found a new way to combat the evils. Lathari's absence had meant that the masked shadow of Emberoth had fallen silent, and with a little help from Kadriza's flames, a new masked shadow would emerge to stand vigilant over
my
the surrounding
God.
region.
Oh.
Temerity is the new Batman.
Yes.
shit.
Nice. Go Temerity.
Honestly, that's one. I think that. I mean, I guess we're pretty high up on the list of people still, but that's a turn that was a bit more dramatic than I was expecting. But I'm very happy.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You may enjoy this next one then. What of Veltnost and the Guardians of Namud? After the Amber Eagle confronted the Cabal in Rorke's Gate, the Church of Pelor realised that there was need for a change within the city. Whilst much of the change was political in nature, there was one that, to the casual observer, seemed slightly out of place. The reinstatement of the Church of Tritherion.
Hey.
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 Nice.
Behind the scenes, after many hours of debate and discussion, the Paladins of the Radiant Dawn and the Guardians of Namud reached an accord. Whilst the Grand Cathedral would continue to serve the Church of Pelor, the followers of Tritherion would be allowed to operate within the city, serving the interests of those who felt sidelined or oppressed. In exchange for the freedom to operate, the Guardians of Namud agreed that they would no longer undermine the efforts of the city when they felt it was not in accordance with their rules. Instead, they would be given an equal place at the table when it came to passing the city's laws. In time...
That's really...
Sorry.
No, that's good.
In time, however, the original trio who had led the party... The original trio who the party had met in the underground temple would depart from the church's leadership. Velt was no politician, and chose to abdicate his title within the church to one more suited to its new aims, whilst Cassian set out to establish her own arm of Tritherion's church, where it was needed the most. Dom Yoon left the church after a long service, saying that he wished to visit family one last time before his passing. Most would never see the blind old man again, but those fortunate enough to meet Tritherian may recognise the wizened, kindly face of an old hound taking its place at the Celestial's side.
Oh,
Oh.
buddy.
Because, of course, Dom was not who he originally appeared.
It's Tritherian's dog!
He was Namud, the Hound of Tritherian.
Bork, bork.
Bork.
Bork?
Yeah, that's right, Dave. There was 2 dogs in this campaign.
Damn.
Damn. The real plot twist.
Mhm.
A real plot twist.
What if there were more good boys?
What if there were so
Ah.
many good boys?
If I had a pound for every good boy there was in Second Age, I'd have 2 pounds.
Okay.
To be fair, I think we knew. I guess. Well, actually, I don't know if everybody else knew that, but I knew that at least.
Yes, I
about
was going to say,
Dom.
Kelariis knew.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you were out of character. but
You
not
you
in.
did know out of
Oh,
character,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was something that I got pulled into the other room for.
It was at the time, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got pulled into all of the side rooms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it was
sure
like-
did.
Kelariis is like, oh, time to go with the spider."
Clarice is the main character. That's what we've learned.
No.
I was going to say, that's very not true. There were
Right.
definitely other instances. It's just that Kelariis's were tended to be whenever you did something interacting with Tritherian.
Yeah,
Which was a lot.
which,
apparently.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, considering we ended up, like, showing up and being like, yo, and he was like, yo, some people are coming to kill me.
Yeah.
We were
Well-
like, oh no.
We couldn't have a campaign where one of the main goals was unite the 3 relics of Tritherian without kind of including more of the story into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, moving on to Professor Zale and the Arcane Academy. Thanks to the Amber Eagle's assistance and contributions, the Arcane Academy thrived in its research, and Professor Zale became a key player in the field of planar study. With the ability to simulate and research the outer planes in relative safety, studies into extraplanar ecosystems and the various denizens advanced exponentially. Aided by Elizabeth's contributions, the study of magic within the material plane once again became a well-documented and advanced science, echoing the long-lost days of modern Kynan and his understudies.
Nice. We achieved a positive thing.
He did.
Yay.
Yeah, that's probably something. That's actually something that probably happens. I imagine when Elizabeth's school is set up, is she probably tries to arrange cooperation,
Yes.
and very much is still on board for heading over there to help with the creation of magic,
Yes.
rather than setting up a whole new set in her place. Which I mean, she probably would eventually, but it would take time. She wanted to actually have students in classes first.
And Lady Elenia would no doubt welcome you with open arms. What of Lysatus Nerian? After observing the zeal with which Vi and her companions set about their mission to convince the world of Gaia's importance, Lysatus found herself wondering if her role as a Warden of the Dead had a greater calling for her. Over time, she would come to watch the young group's activities with great interest, sharing knowledge and engaging in spirited debate wherever the opportunity arose. A short one, but it'll tie in later. On the still remaining on the topic of death, but on a different tangent, the story of Yarrell and the House of Black Lanterns. With the Shadowfell's domain of death now firmly in the hands of the Raven Queen, Yarrell and the House of Black Lanterns began to see less business. Few would risk the wrath of the Raven Queen trespassing the borders of life and death, and the few Shadarkai who were not loyal to the Queen decided to make new lives elsewhere. Never one to lose out on a business opportunity, however, Yarrell made himself irreplaceable within the Queen's court. His mysterious ability to travel between the planes made him an invaluable observer and negotiator, and many negotiations between the Queen and her fellow gods would take place in the halls a house of Black Lanterns, now converted into the Raven Queen's personal planar transportation.
Man,
Spooky.
that would be one. That is probably the best ride in existence.
I mean, yeah. Let's be honest. If you were gonna have something to travel you between the planes, you'd want the House of Black Lanterns. That shit's got everything.
Very comfy.
It's literally a house.
It's a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fucking resort.
Yeah.
Maybe we should.
She's fucking traveling between the planes. Meanwhile, she's having a fucking spa.
Yeah.
She's having a spa day. She's just casually going between the planes to talk to gods. She's having a fucking great time.
Yeah, maybe you can get one. Get on it. Like, just get us one of those.
Wow.
Don't even know what to call it.
Wow. You know what? I did recently get a spell that sets up pocket dimensions. I'll just make you guys a pocket dimension you can get in.
God.
I'll make you guys a pocket dimension spa. How does that sound?
That
But it
Concerning for
that has the
That's
same
probably-
vibe of a bathtub in a broom closet.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just a whole separate. It's just a whole separate pocket plane, but it's just full of steam.
Oof.
So what of Puck and Cobweb?
Oh no.
Good
Well,
question.
Within-
Chaos have
Trouble.
they unleashed?
After what fucking Grim gave them, what are they up to? That's a good question.
With a
They're
new
either
ace
dead
up his
or
sleeve, courtesy of Grim, Puck managed to worm his way back into the Fey Court, supported as ever by his loyal asset Cobweb. It would not take too long for the two to find themselves back in the thick of intrigue, this time far deeper than either had ventured before. Despite warnings from Cobweb, Puck continued to apply pressure on the court, relying on his guile and a secret weapon to keep him safe from reprisal. Unable to sway him from his aspirations, Cobweb watched as her normally mischievous ally began to become cruel and power-hungry, until she could watch
no.
no more.
Oh dear.
She departed from the Feywild and travelled to the Amber Eagle's stronghold to live out her days watching over Riala and her friends.
Well.
Can't all be good stories.
No.
Oh.
I mean, you did give Puck a powerful ass weapon, dude.
Well, you know.
Of course, he was going to
Like-
go a little bit power hungry.
Yeah, well, you know, that's kind of like that's kind of what we're hoping for, but like you're hoping for power hungry with some sense of respect in the end. But
Wow.
you know. But like that said, you know, if it becomes a problem, we'll just drop by and we'll be fine.
Okay.
On a lighter note, what of Lathari and Llewellyn? Lathari's sudden disappearance went unanswered for several long months, whilst a concerned Llewellyn awaited word of her travels and continued to work the Emberoth smithy. One quiet evening, Llewellyn returned from the tavern to find Lathari sitting in her chair as if nothing had changed, accompanied by a young human girl. When Llewellyn asked of her travels, Lathari simply gave a cheeky smile and introduced the girl as Meryl, who was to become the next of Lathari's students. Llewellyn decided not to pursue further, knowing that this would likely not be the last time this would happen. Lathari knew, of course, that any hope of a peaceful retirement had long since escaped her. She merely wished to pass on her experiences and spend her twilight years sharing adventures and teaching all the lessons she had learned to those who lacked the confidence or skills to learn it themselves. Having never felt the compulsion to motherhood, Lathari was content to forge her own family from the dysfunctional pieces she found along her adventures. Her fireside was always welcoming to those she had met along the way. Some merely stayed a while, others for longer, but she treasured them all the same.
Wholesome grandma.
For real, though.
Like, yeah, she's just adopting a load of grandkids. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Also, why does the name Meryl sound familiar? Did we meet someone called Meryl? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
If you did, this is not the same Meryl.
Okay.
Two Meryls in one universe.
Suspicious.
There can only be one.
Not like there are only so many names to go around.
Yep.
Oh, you know, just add a letter every time.
Great.
Honestly, gnomes are pretty good at being unique.
Well, the gnomes also
mean-
have like a bunch of names.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then you just add more nicknames on top of that. It's fucking crazy.
yeah.
Not
Exactly.
everyone can be gnomes, unfortunately.
But they can.
Well-
I don't think so.
I mean, maybe in theory, but
I just can't help but imagine, like in one of the more bureaucratic cities, like people start doing this, and they're like, "No, we can't. Our forms, you can only have like 3 names, no
Yeah.
more." Oof. Oh. Oh.
just wait for Minnie's next. Like, Minnie's gonna host a one-shot for us, and it's just gonna be a whole world where everyone is a gnome.
Oh my god.
With a unique
God.
name.
With a
Oh, yeah,
fully
with-
unique, like, 14 sets of names.
Oh no.
That would
Some
be
of them are
such
only
a
like
mess.
one name different, and they'll expect you to know the difference between the two of them immediately.
Yep.
Yeah. And Minnie's gonna say their full names every time.
Oh no.
Yep.
And it turns out they're both. And then there's gonna be 2 characters who are twins that have one name difference.
Yeah.
It's gonna be even worse.
So when are we
would be an
playing?
That would be an absolute
Yeah, come
nightmare.
on, Minnie, when are we doing this? Come on, do it.
Oof. Well, I'll plan it in 2090. How about then?
2090?
I'm gonna
Sure,
hold.
we're
I'm gonna hold you to
hold
that
it.
one.
Yeah, we'll hold you to it. We're gonna be all in our 70s, and we're gonna be like, Minnie, have you planned the gnome game yet?
Oof.
Minnie's gonna be like,
I'm loading up Roll20 on my space phone.
And
Look,
we're gonna
well,
be doing it. Yeah, we're gonna be all be doing it over virtual reality. It's gonna be great, like
Oh,
full
no.
body virtual reality.
no, we'll meet
It's gonna
up.
be an actual video game rather than. Just
I'll have a scroll with the names, and it will just like fall to the ground and keep rolling out the room.
Oh my god.
Perfect.
Yep.
That
He'll
sounds
have spent
alright.
he'll have spent the last 70 years crafting each and every name painstakingly.
Yes.
So Minnie,
Making
what's the
sure they
adventure?
truly
I
are
don't
unique.
have it.
Well, it's
I just have a list
It's
of
just a
names.
list of names.
no, of course it's political intrigue. It's
Ah.
Oh, of course it
great.
is. That means you know what that means though. That means we get to go to a fancy ball.
Oh no. Oof.
The
The-
perfect place for political intrigue.
The entire like premise of the political intrigue is finding out who's advocating for reducing the size of the name field on the form.
Oh no.
And stopping them before the world goes into chaos.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ah. Right. So, what of the dynamic duo? What of the Sera and Siddhani? After the celebrations of victory came to a close, life in the Amber Eagle returned to normality for most of the mercenaries in the company. Siddhani, ever eager to keep the company ready for any eventuality, returned to running training sessions and keeping everything in order under Von Dahl's watchful eye. It didn't take long before Grim made true on his promise, and soon the tiefling found herself with a command of her own. Tallithsyr, on the other hand, returned to the role she had always desired, a travelling companion and squire to Kelariis. Whilst the Amber Eagle was still her home away from home, and the companions very dear to her heart, she had a newfound yearning to chase the dream of seeing the world as Kelariis had. Armed with her sword, Shivi, she followed Kelariis on her adventures to all the far-flung places the paladin had travelled, helping to overcome whatever challenges might face them on the road. Eventually, with time, she would come face to face with Tritherion himself, and after a long conversation, depart from the crossroads with a newfound zeal to right injustice.
Oh, my girl.
She's just gonna keep the same sword.
Why not?
Oh, like
What a
yeah,
legend.
It was the sword Kelariis had made for her.
I know.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
great sword.
And if she keeps it up, it might become a legendary sword.
Mm.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we'll take it to like we'll somehow make it over to Lathari one day, or like the Forge will be like, "Hey, could you make this like a little better?"
And then you go over, and then you go to Latherman's Cave, and Elizabeth's like, "Yes, I will enchant it for you."
Hmm.
This is how legendary weapons are forged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through
I,
through
for one,
toil,
approve.
adventure, friendships, and a whole lot of blood.
What were you saying, Luka?
I said I, for one, approve of Sera following in Kelariis' footsteps.
Excellent.
I also approve of the sword's name.
I'm not sure Kelariis does as much, but she accepts it.
Oh, good.
Speaking of the Amber Eagle, we come to Vondar Lionfist. As the Amber Eagle's fame encouraged yet more aspiring mercenaries to the group, Vondar began to consider that perhaps retirement might not be the worst idea after all. He would spend many more years as mentor to the soldiers, maintaining the keep's armory and acting as advisor and counsel to Grim and his lieutenants, but slowly began to ease out of the day-to-day grind. As the years went by, the gruff old veteran slowly replaced duties with hobbies, until eventually, one summer's evening, he returned to the keep's main hall to find all his former companions gathered around a table by the fire. Smiling, they presented him with a golden pocket watch that Grim had crafted, complete with the company's sigil, and thanked him for all he had done.
Vondal!
Oh, Dad!
Oh.
Our dad!
He finally got to retire.
Yep.
We present him a card that says, "Thanks, Dad."
I would imagine
Thanks,
actually
Dad.
that like a gesture like that would probably be the first thing that makes him cry.
Oh.
Oh,
Hmm.
We love our Von Dad.
Yeah.
Like I can also imagine like just a letter or something. Welcome to your new life. Now is like 90% less aneurysms.
Something he definitely does as well is return home
Oh yes,
to visit his mother again.
finally.
Give a little bit of an apology for vanishing, but I mean, he still obviously has been working on his smithing, and he still has lots of years in him. So he still like his retirement is probably going home and just going back to smithing. He's honored his dad's name. Now it's time to honor his mother's.
Fair enough.
Lovely.
Because yeah, he does feel bad about leaving her as the only son.
Yeah, that's nice.
So he probably does eventually take over the family forge.
Nice.
On next to an enigma.
The inner machinations of my mind are an
Despite the hardships she would face in the city of Mardan, Moll would grow up under the watchful eye of many tieflings, all of whom hoped that her story of freedom would become the catalyst for great change. With time, she would learn a great deal from the city's doctors and healers, and go on to become a well-loved member of the medical community. Although she decided to forego the tiefling tradition of taking a virtue name on her 16th birthday, many of the tieflings who followed her story came to name her Compassion, both with respect to her profession, as well as the act that allowed her to step free from her shackles and embrace the hope of a new future.
Aww.
Aw.
That feels appropriate.
Dr. Moll.
Dr. Moll.
Indeed.
I'm so proud of her.
We all are.
From
Shout out
a
to her namesake, the player or the Session 0 character that
Yep.
we got way too
Yep.
attached to.
That we basically adopted.
all the way from a nameless Session 0 NPC to
Respected doctor.
Yeah.
Yep.
When she made it
Who
for
would have
5
thought-
whole
yeah.
years.
Yep.
5 whole years.
Yep.
and a
We
totally
tackled her to
alternate
the ground.
universe.
Yep.
We tackled her to the ground. Yelled at her, drew in the dirt at her.
Oh god, yeah,
She's a
that's right.
doctor.
Yeah, we did do that.
None of us spoke Infernal, and she didn't speak very good Common, so we had to draw symbols in the dirt.
And we worked it out.
We did work it out in the
Somehow.
end.
Yeah.
Through lots of drawing in the dirt, that's how. We drew pretty pictures.
Yep.
It's the problem-solving mindset.
I just had a thought that essentially the Session 0 timeline is basically the Age of Calamity timeline. Where it's just like
Yeah.
the timeline is just totally fucked up by a bunch of random stuff happening.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but you know.
Oh well.
How on to Princess Arya, or as her official title is, the Watcher of Helm. With advice and assistance from Arya and Kelariis, Princess Arya grew to become a wise and fair member of Helm's clergy. For the first time in hundreds of years, the Church of Helm underwent radical change, abandoning old laws and bringing the remainder up to date for the modern age, much to the disdain of many established clergy figureheads. When King Alyssard passed away with no heir other than Princess Arya, the kingdom fell somewhat into turmoil. Fearing conflict with bordering nations, the princess meted out a compromise. The kingdom would recognise Aeverelle Lyn, now husband to the princess, as monarch in title alone. Governance of the kingdom would fall to its lords and generals in place of a single ruler. And with such a decree, one of the last bastions of human monarchy would fall to democracy.
Shit.
Well,
We now have a constitutional monarch who just sort of sits there and is king.
Wait, Aeverelle was the one that she tried to run away with, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah!
She married him.
The childhood friend.
Yes!
That goes. Hang on. Tick off another trope. Tick off another fanfic trope.
Hell yeah.
We've ticked off childhood friend.
Sharing a bed. There's only
Sharing
one
a
bed.
bed. Childhood friend. Can you argue a drow and Eladrin is enemies to lovers? Why not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are ticking off these fanfic tropes left, right, and center.
Yeah. So from the affairs of humans to those of the giants. Kerimvar and the Storm Giants. Word of the Dread Legion's defeat eventually wound its way up north, beyond the great mountain ranges, to the Maelstrom, where it reached the ears of Kerimvar and the last of the great giants. Knowing well that this victory would likely bring about great change to the material plane, the remaining giant elders held one last moot, to determine whether or not the time of giants had finally come to its close. In an almost unanimous vote, the giant people decided that it was time for them to move on. With a titanic effort, they ripped open the sky at the centre of the Maelstrom and made their way to the elemental planes in search of a new home. The Maelstrom, however, would remain, as well as the legend of the storm-bearing giants that resided at its heart.
Damn.
Shit.
Yeah.
we never did go visit them, did we?
You did.
Yeah. I guess we never really found a good way to do so or reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I realized? Is we didn't sort out that dragon either.
Nope.
Yeah, like I'm also very
Yeah.
aware. But hey.
It was definitely on a
well.
lot of people's to monitor list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on all of our to monitor list.
But hey, like, we gotta leave something for future heroes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we can't solve every problem. And it's like,
I mean, yeah.
What use does
I guess.
the world have for a world without heroes?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, again, moving away from heroes, what of Tiff Spittleswell?
Spittleswell.
That is her surname.
Tiff, yeah.
After
Go
completion,
design castles, you queen.
After completing her contract with the Amber Eagle, Tiff decided that she had put off her ambition long enough, and with the gold to do it, she set about planning the grand tour that she'd always wanted to have. This time with a handful of Amber Eagle mercenaries in tow, just in case.
Probably a good idea.
Oh,
After
yeah,
touring
very
the
good.
temples of Mardan, travelling the black roads of Cindershale, and finally observing the stunning white marble dockyards of Green Abbey, the travelling itch was finally scratched for Tiff. She had seen everything the world had to offer. And yet, there was still Grimm's proposition. A chance to see the worlds beyond her own, to map and catalogue the places unseen by most mortals. An opportunity to make a name for herself in history. After much indecision, many sleepless nights, and several bottles of very expensive wine, Tiff decided that she couldn't really call herself an explorer if she turned down an opportunity to tread directly into the unknown. Accepting Grimm's offer, the two gnomes began a journey to map the roads yet untrodden.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh yeah. You go, Tiff.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Speaking of beyond the plains, what of Khadija Rashad? Whilst the legacy of Khadija Rashad had been written many centuries past, the old genie continued to aid their only daughter on her travels. From forays back to the material to visit or share stories, to secret meetings within the plane of air itself, Khadija relished every moment of their meetings. Vicariously, they watched Elizabeth go from strength to strength as a powerful wizard, content to watch from the gilded cage that was their service to Mistress Aisha. There was no doubt in Khadija's mind that if they were to ask, Elizabeth was more than enough to... Elizabeth was more than powerful enough to break the bond that held them in service to an empire they had once sought to undo. But Khadija had seen enough bloodshed for their immortal lifetime, and would never dream of asking Elizabeth to bear the burden of their past acts, content instead to try and change things for the better through diplomacy and wisdom. Although, that never put a stop to sneaking out whenever there was a feast to be had.
Yeah.
On to someone you've no doubt all been waiting for. Jaldrum. With the decimation of the Sisterhood of Lolth at the hands of the Dread Legion, the political situation in Cindershale Landing became more treacherous than ever. With their auditors stretched thin, the houses of Cindershale moved to more devious infighting to try and take control of the city's many industries. As the houses fought, tensions ran high between those under house protection and those minorities left unprotected, until conflicts began to boil over into protests and civil unrest. At the heart of it all, Jaldrum and his band of allies sought to keep a cool head while strengthening their growing support. As things became more difficult and support for more equal society grew, those who sought to stamp it out grew emboldened too. Just as tensions were reaching breaking point, the Underdark's great houses dispatched 3 of their most deadly assassins to the city to eliminate the rogue drow and his allies and return the city to its rightful masters. The 3 assassins returned to the Underdark 1 month later, each laid to rest with a single arrow to the heart. A warning to them that Cindershale's new movement was protected. The great houses promptly cut their losses and abandoned the city to its fate. It would take many long years, but eventually Cindershale would know peace.
Yay!
Woo!
Hell
Nice
yeah.
one, Very well done, Twaya.
I just killed some people, man. Children did all the hard political stuff. I was just his bodyguard.
Yep. I mean, the bodyguard saved his life.
Did indeed.
Yep.
I know it's not every day you kill 3 of the deadliest drow assassins, so...
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, I feel like it's a little unfair at this point, but
Yeah, but come
You
on,
know.
I'm trying to pick you up.
Yeah.
but Arya's still a badass, and
Yeah.
she's the best.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At one point,
All of us
Robin,
die first.
when we were talking, Rob was like, "Do you think they would get married?" And I was like, "I don't know."
We left that
So-
ambiguous on purpose.
Yeah, that's ambiguous because I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's purely for political reasons. That is so complicated. But
Yeah,
And
it's
then
not
there's-
great. Yeah, that's the thing is, I was also like, I think they would probably keep all the aspects of their relationship secret. Like they would, be friends publicly, but
Yeah.
if the world's ready for all that other stuff yet.
No one's know what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah,
that bodyguard is real close. He's doing a real good job.
real close.
Yeah.
well, I was going to say, you know how it is in politics. There were definitely rumours, regardless of whether or not it was happening.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the rumors
Except
were
this time the rumors were true.
true.
Yeah. In this case, the rumors were true, but they didn't need to know that.
Nope. Not their business.
Yeah. On a somewhat related note, if you think Elizabeth only ever had one girlfriend,
That doesn't surprise
not
me.
saying she ever broke up with Garner, which she didn't,
Yeah,
but there
that
was
doesn't
more
surprise
than
me.
one, and sometimes at the same time.
Honestly, the most surprising thing about that is that she mustered up the courage.
Ah,
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Look, she got in some good
True.
practice with Karina.
well,
Yeah, once you've done it once, it's not hard to do it again.
Well,
And then once you've done it a second
And-
time...
And that was sarcasm, but yes.
No, yeah,
Now
she's
you've
still
gotten
definitely
good at
just as awkward
chess.
as ever, but...
Oof.
But yeah. And so, we move on to Leivithyl of Neonath, who, you will forgive me, there is quite a lot to go through, and it's not as tabulated as well, so I'm going to have to sort of
Yeah,
improvise a bit.
understandable.
But yeah, these aims with the her, what did I call them?
Coven?
Yeah, her coven.
The term you used, yeah.
Yes. Her coven of followers would, with time, grow into something much more significant. Focused mainly around the grove that she had set up, V began to build a following large enough that warranted starting a small, essentially like a small church, which then expanded out into a temple, into a small city. Well, say a small city, like reasonably sized town, sort of on the scale of Rorksgate, over a very long period of time. V embraced, or with time came to embrace, the destiny that she had been given, even if she was unwilling to accept the role in quite the same manner that the Raven Queen originally wanted her to. She became known as the emissary of Gaia, and it was her job to act as a mouthpiece for the natural order. With time, she would come to watch over the flow of magic and those who lived, died, and were reborn. Her personal interest would come from watching the several notable souls that she saw along her travels come to their natural growth. Speaking of the Raven Queen, the two never really reconciled their differences. They were very often at odds with one another's goals, but they were never in direct conflict. They would always have a difference of opinion in how certain things should be handled, and their ideologies were both very different. However, on the rare occasions they were able to agree, they were able to exact unstoppable change across the material plane, and into many of the other planes as well. To reclaim her full power, however, V had to turn one day to Arya, and request the return of a gift that was given a long time ago. It was not an easy process, but the twin soul was able to be undone and returned to how it was originally. And with that, V was able to transform fully into her role as the emissary.
Can't believe we finally resolved that plotline.
Indeed.
Yep.
As time went on, sadly, V would come to outgrow an organization like the Amber Eagle. Her duties became far more grand scale, although she still maintained the ties and friendships. Eventually, however, I said that too many times, as time went on, V would come to outlive many of the members of the Amber Eagle. And given her new status, even if it may not be in the same body, she would definitely continue onwards to complete her task as the emissary.
Well,
so yes, V eventually became so much more than she originally was.
yeah. I always felt like she was kind of like reluctant.
Yes.
Yeah.
She found a way to make it on her terms, though, not on anyone else's.
Mhm.
Yes.
So that's nice at least.
Which, of course, naturally leads us on to the Raven Queen. With the destruction of Azrael the Twisted and the keys to Tharizdun's prison firmly out of the wrong hands, the ascension of the Raven Queen to godhood was merely a matter of ceremony. With the only entities capable of dethroning her either defeated or part of an uneasy alliance, she was able to make her plan. She was able to begin her plans to restore balance to the universe through whatever means she saw fit. The one variable she did not account for in her grand schemes, however, was the persistent opposition of Gaia's Chosen. Whilst neither force dared move directly against one another for fear of bringing about conflict, the Raven Queen's goals clashed with V's on many occasions, forcing the two into a grand standoff over the freedom of choice that should be given to those whose time it was to return to the cycle. As both grew in power, they occasionally managed to find common ground where both their wishes could be met, and in those moments the world would be shaped forever. The Raven Queen may be a demanding mistress, but kept in check by the efforts of Gaia and her disciples, she was fair in her dealings. The universe would never be the same again, but so long as the balance between life and death remained, it would continue, along the natural order it always had.
Damn. Earth shakers over here.
Yeah, for real.
So yes, the Raven Queen did attain godhood, but she didn't become a tyrant, because V was able to keep her in check. Or V and her coven.
Yeah.
That's good.
Hooray. Another one I've been looking forward to.
Yes. Well, yeah. And what of Kizyara? the mysterious being from a world beyond the Astral Sea. After her successful missions to the ruins beneath the Kuran coast, she was able to return home by ancient arcane means, but that was far from the end of her adventures. She returned to find her people embroiled in a conflict of their own, not only against the Mind Flayers and their eldritch minions, but a faction of her own people, bent on returning Gith society to its dominance in the universe. Her successes with the Amber Eagle helped prepare her for the conflict, but as the battles raged, she often found herself wondering if the outcome would be different, with the assistance of a certain group of heroes. So yeah. To end on a mystery.
I can't believe we literally had an alien, like, pop in.
You did.
Yeah.
Could you imagine they decided to just, like, yeah, it wouldn't make a difference and just hop over and kidnap us? It's like, so, yeah, we kind of need your help. It's like, what?
It's like,
To be fair, if they
excuse
showed
me?
up and said, hey, do you want to help my homeworld? Like, Elizabeth would just clap her hands and go, done, let's go.
So, funny
Let's
story
go.
is, in another timeline, you did.
Oh,
Dun,
my
dun,
God.
dun.
Because we had a one-shot, if you remember correctly. The greatest crossover event,
Oh my god.
where multiple individuals from multiple different timelines all came to prevent the end of the universe, which was brought about by one of those eldritch beings in the conflict.
Nice.
And one of those was Elizabeth.
One of those was Elizabeth, but from a different timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Elizabeth was very different.
Yes.
I feel like they could have picked better, but you know what? They did well.
Wow.
No, as in, like, they
I
should have
think,
taken
yeah.
future Elizabeth, not past Elizabeth.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, this Elizabeth would have been a much better choice. She'd have fucking, like, 1v1'd that dragon. It would have been great.
But,
Yes.
but it would have made for a boring one-shot.
It would have been a very one shot.
Yeah.
It would have been
Also,
ridiculous.
Also, we had no idea that was going to happen when the one shot was actually played. So
True.
No. Yeah, we did not. We did not. I had never played Elizabeth in Second Age before when we did that one shot.
No.
I was still playing Vondar.
yes. So that concludes our list of notable characters. I have a few factions to cover in general. There's only 3 of them. You'll be pleased to hear. Just to sort of round out the grand stories that we've been telling, because there were some events that were sort of touched on in a couple of the stories, but I wanted to explore in greater detail. But yeah. So, the tale of the Amber Eagle. Thanks to the fame of its heroes, the Amber Eagle would grow to become a mighty military force within the western regions. Whether dealing with bandits, hunting down wayward monstrosities, or defending villages against marauding attackers, the mercenaries of the Amber Eagle became synonymous with the protection of everyone, regardless of background, race, or creed. Even where the pay was short, the Amber Eagle did not turn those aside in desperate need. Sheltering refugees from conflicts, aiding those hoping to forge a new start in difficult lands, and even on occasion defending the people against their own oppressive leaders. This reputation did not go unnoticed by the neighbouring kingdoms and empires. Unnerved by the strength this mercenary company presented, several rulers sought to shore up their defences against a possible incursion, and many pacts of non-aggression were signed in tense negotiation. Skirmishes and scuffles were not uncommon, but the Amber Eagle showed no desire to rule the lands they protected, instead content to safeguard the independence of the many towns and villages they watched over.
Nice.
Woohoo!
Hell yeah.
We're the good guys.
Nice work.
We're Shield.
Nice work.
We're not-
Nice work, diplomats.
See, you
Well,
say
like-
we're the good guys, and then you say we're S.H.I.E.L.D. in the same sentence.
Okay, we're the version
Yeah.
of Shield that was meant to be.
We're
Instead
what
of-
Shield was supposed to be.
Yeah, instead of Hydra Shield, which
Yeah,
You know.
whatever the hell that was.
Well, that was the version where you guys joined the Cabal.
wow.
Oh yeah. And in that timeline, Elizabeth got a vampire girlfriend, so you know.
Probably became a vampire, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
that's,
get vampire girlfriend, realize vampire girlfriend's going to outlive you, get sad, ask to be vampire. There you go. That's the timeline right there.
That is
I
the
just,
timeline.
I had the fucking mental pop up from The Sims where you just like ask to become vampire.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. That is exactly what it would be
That's how
like.
it goes.
Yeah, someone gave Elizabeth the ask to be vampire command after a few dates.
Oh dear.
Nice.
And then
Oh.
at that point, she's a powerful wizard and a vampire. So probably that timeline Elizabeth's probably even more powerful than this timeline Elizabeth. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Which is only slightly terrifying.
Yeah, I'm now just imagining a what if Doctor Strange but Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth. Yeah, there you go. Elizabeth just becomes vampire Doctor Strange.
Just don't destroy your universe.
Yeah.
Spoilers for that. I'm sorry if anyone hasn't seen that episode yet.
I watched exactly 2 episodes of What If and then dipped, so I'm now.
It's so good. Please finish it.
No, it's not good. Good.
Uh-oh.
Maybe it's good at the end. I don't know.
I really enjoyed it. Anyway, let's have that conversation later.
Yep.
Yes, speaking of neighboring kingdoms, the Dragonborn Empire.
Yes.
Yeah.
When news of the return of the ancient dragons reached the general populace, many feared that this would signify the reunification of the Dragonborn people, and set in motion another wave of war and conquest in the name of their ancestors. Instead, the Empire's reaction was very different than expected. Border patrols were strengthened, but military presence inside auxiliary territories like Karsport fell dramatically. The Imperial Army began to concentrate its forces in military strongholds across the coast, as if expecting a sudden invasion by sea. No one could seem to agree on the reason for this sudden change of attitude, but whilst the civil war continued to smoulder along the Empire's borders, the Dragonborn military began to focus on preparations for an unseen war that left many within the Empire concerned about what the future might bring.
Weird.
Well,
There are dragons in the water.
Yeah, I guess there are water dragons, but
There's dragon turtles.
And yeah,
Those things are fucking scary.
does make you wonder what
They don't have a moral compass.
what Lady Hyassa was what the information that Lady Hyassa had to present to the Dragonborn Council was.
yeah,
Yeah.
what the fuck was that?
Sure, that's fine.
Indeed.
Yes. One last faction. The events that played out in the Sealy Court. Over the course of several years, the court of Queen Titania witnessed a slow but inexorable change. She began to replace the loyal council she had spent her whole life cultivating with contentious and unlikely figures, some of whom she had quarrelled with or openly opposed in the past. Where her past edicts had been to keep the city court quietly contained within its own borders, her demands now pushed more of the denizens of the Feywild to serve and pay tribute to the court instead. Among those who knew her personally, the Queen seemed to become more subdued, quite unlike her previous centuries of governance, and she would often spend long periods of time alone with her new advisors before making decisions. Those who dared to point out the Queen's changed behaviours or suggest that something in the court was amiss were cast out with extreme prejudice. Among her detractors were many that were once loyal to her, and a handful of opposing enclaves began to spring up, intent on returning the court to its former glory. Behind the scenes, of course, Queen Titania struggled wherever she could against the strings of her new puppet master. But ultimately, the effort was fruitless. In a final effort, however, she sent out a message in secret, begging for someone to step in and free her from the grasp of her new master.
Wow, that's like very depressing.
yeah, well,
But who to?
Who to, indeed.
Who to?
God.
Here's where the Amber Eagle receives a letter. So I know it was a dick in the past, but
Like, but could you please help?
Or
Help
maybe because of the like. Or maybe it's just straight to Elizabeth because she did have her eye on Elizabeth
yeah,
when they were at the CD.
I don't think that's gonna be it, unfortunately.
No, I reckon it's to some fucking demon.
Yeah, feels
Yeah.
more like
Well,
her style.
it was left deliberately ambiguous.
Hmm.
But you know who
Yeah.
the puppet master is, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
The one you
This is
empowered.
we can now come up with all of our own headcanons. This is where we make AUs and alternate timelines.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We can have the timeline where she contacts the Amber Eagle. There's probably a timeline where she just goes straight for Elizabeth. There's timelines where she contacts demons and devils.
I feel like all of these have to involve the Amber Eagle stepping in somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Probably.
Probably.
This definitely feels like an us job.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
no,
considering it was
you'll be
kind of
really
us that caused the issue.
Yeah.
But you don't
Also,
know
that's
that.
not. There's probably
Like-
also a
I
timeline
guess
where she
that's
goes
true.
for. What's
Like-
the other fake court?
Oh, the Unseelie Cord.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Probably a timeline where she goes to them.
That one I'd like to see.
Yeah, that would be a fucking wild timeline. I kind
Well-
of feel bad for Titania.
Yeah, same.
Hmm.
Not bad enough to like do anything about it, but like a little bit bad.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I feel bad because I know these things out of character, but not knowing them in character is gonna, stop me from going and actively doing something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, with that, I've come to the end of everything that I wrote.
Mm.
So, the only thing left to ask is, are there any questions left unanswered?
Pet dragon.
Well, yeah, dragon.
Yeah.
It does happen with that white dragon. He probably gets
Do we-
too big for his boots one day. Or,
Like, is that even
I mean-
anywhere near our lifespan?
That's also true. I
mean,
guess
that- yeah.
Arya might be the only one who survives that
Yeah.
long, actually.
Like,
I would
don't
probably
know.
survive.
Like, I don't know what the aging rate is on a dragon.
I think they have to be like 1,000 to be ancient. The one we were dealing with was a young.
The younger one.
it was adolescent. I
Yeah.
forget exactly what type of
Adolescent,
dragon
yeah.
it was, but
Yeah, I think it's young. 'Cause I think it goes baby, young, adult, ancient.
Hmm.
That sounds about right, yeah.
So it would have been a young dragon. I think adult. If I remember the book correctly, adult is once they hit like 500,
something along those
and then
lines.
ancient is once they hit 1,000.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
But it's no doubt it's going to be a mess once it hits puberty.
Yeah, but obviously, yeah. Once it gets bigger, it's going to want more and more food, which means it's going to want more and more territory, which is going to make it more and more likely that it goes against our deal.
Hmm.
And also, like, if the Dragonborn Empire is calming down, they might be sending more and more people to the mountains, which would again, according to our deal, limit the space that it can hunt in.
Hmm. Oh well. Fortunately,
Which, to be fair, might even bring it into conflict with the Dragonborn Empire.
potentially.
Maybe that's one way that the Amber Eagle and the Dragonborn somewhat come together, is to resolve the threat of the dragon together.
I feel
Who
like
knows?
the problem there is going to be that the dragon is just going to say, "I made a deal with these guys," and the Dragonborn are going to be like, "What?
Yeah.
You did what
Whom?
now?"
Yeah. Also, the odds of the Dragonborn Empire like calling on outside help to deal with something is very small, I feel.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Hmm.
It's fine. Don't worry about
A lot of people will probably die, but they'll be fine.
Eh,
it.
And that's if it goes to a fight.
Hmm.
I mean,
Maybe
the
they'll work
odds of
out
that
something
happening
else.
are high, potentially,
Yeah.
depending.
Depending on how bold this dragon gets, we did kind of embolden him a little bit.
Hmm.
But was it our fault?
I mean, Kind of.
Yeah. I mean,
Partly.
it's very much due to
Well,
our actions, so that makes
but-
it our fault.
But like, just ask yourself, what would have happened? What would have happened if we had not interfered?
Oh, much
like-
worse stuff.
Like the dragon eventually, like you would hope it has an epiphany somewhere in the next 100 years or 200 years,
Yeah.
because it would at a certain point it would just be like, I can't get back in and out if it
Yeah.
doesn't manage to open the tunnel up.
And then it would let its mother out.
Or was either its mother would get out, or it would just not be able to go back in and would have to just fend for itself.
Yeah.
Which,
Means its mother would just starve to death down there.
yeah, but it was more than now you have a completely just loose
Yeah.
dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be
Not
wandering to
great.
find a new lair somewhere.
Hmm.
Knowing the type, he'd be looking for a nice mountain. So I suppose there is a chance he flies all the way to the very, very northern parts where no one really lives, and decides there's the best place, eating fucking woolly mammoths or whatever the fuck lives up there. But there's also a chance he goes, over here,
Yeah.
or over here,
Oh,
or over here.
like I kind of feel like
Maybe
Like,
he
we
settles right
can't-
fucking next to Argentellorant. Who fucking knows?
Well, then it's
But,
the
like-
elves' problem.
no,
I don't actually mean that, just for the record.
Yeah, I know.
oh,
gathered.
good.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's lots of potential places for a white dragon to decide to live.
Yeah, but like I feel like
That would be bad.
we've kind of done what we can to not extinguish the entire race of dragons.
Yeah,
And if they keep fighting, then there's only so much we can do.
yeah. Maybe one
Although-
day we would eventually have to kill him, but who knows? Maybe it doesn't come to that.
Yeah. One day they'll have to like go out and find the dragon slaying sword that we crafted.
Yeah, that will be the next adventure in this world. It'll be people knowing the legend of the Red King's treachery,
Yeah.
Oh my
and
god.
searching for the legendary blade.
To be like that would be. I feel like that would be an
To bring-
artifact that
to
would
bring-
be quite nice.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. People looking for the Red King's treachery to bring about peace in an age of dragons gone wild.
Grim is still alive at that point. Like they're just like they find it in the hands of a grumpy old gnome.
They're like,
It's like, well,
Who tells them stories of legends long past, and urges them to consult on the wisdom of an elf
Hmm.
who faced the threat before.
Arya's
What I was
just like,
thinking
"Leave me
is
alone."
like he's just gone basically deaf. So every time they try to ask
Oh,
him for the
God.
sword, he's just like goes on to another story, and it's like
like,
yes,
oh
the
yes,
sword.
yes.
Have I ever told you about the
Right,
time?
It's
Did I
like,
tell you this time?
and they're like, the sword! And he's like, oh, a board?
He's got hearing issues as well. He's holding up one of those this thing that's basically a horn you hold up to your ear.
Yeah.
He's holding one of
yeah.
them.
See, I feel like he
still
just
can't
wouldn't
quite hear right.
like he wouldn't bother with the horn. He'd just like have people shout and not hear it instead.
Yeah,
yeah, true.
that sounds like
He's just
Grim.
like,
He's
whatever.
too proud to use a horn.
Yeah.
Using a horn is admitting defeat.
That's true.
Yeah.
Everyone else is long dead.
Well, Arya wouldn't be.
Well,
No.
yeah, apart from Arya. Everyone apart from Arya would be dead, probably.
Sometimes I can still hear her voice. I'm right here.
I'm right here, I'm not dead.
And Arya doesn't look like she's aged a fucking day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arya
Yeah.
still looks exactly the same.
The prime of my.
And
Still
Grim-
here, you
Grim's all-
crazy old
Grim's all
gnome.
white. Grim's all white and wrinkly.
Yeah.
Can't quite stand up
Oof.
for very long anymore.
So
Still tries though.
He still
What-
tries, yeah.
Yeah.
He still refuses to use a cane.
what are we saying the end of Kanos Moonshadow is? The White Dragon.
Well, we've got all these possible scenarios, but which do we think is the most likely?
Do you want to decide on a scenario, or do you want to leave it? Because you can just leave it.
See,
Yeah.
like,
I feel like it
honestly,
needs some sort of ending.
like, what I would be most intrigued by is because we haven't actually because it kind of depends on something else that we haven't really discussed, and that is our Chromats colony.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, true.
How do they get on?
Because what I was thinking is perhaps a deal could be made between the two.
Yeah?
Well, like I imagine, like once if the Dragonborn aren't happy with the dragon, they're gonna just hunt it down. There's no question about it. But like the Chromats, they wouldn't mind a dragon helping out for their protection potentially. So yeah, I feel like it would be a case of both of them just kind of like a defensive alliance essentially. And then they provide the dragon with food, and the dragon keeps an eye out.
Moving in a dragon to the Amber Eagle's backyard.
Right.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
I'm sure that would go great.
I don't think the Amber Eagle would be happy with it, but like as long as they don't cause trouble, I don't think we would take action.
I think this is the problem. I think that dragon's personality that we saw means it will one day cause trouble.
Probably.
It is only a matter of when with that dragon, I think. Unless it goes far north where there's not as many settlements for it to bother.
See,
I doubt it though, because it seems like he's kind of laid claim to the area at this point.
Yeah,
exactly. He doesn't want to move from that mountain range. That's the ancestral lands of his parents. He doesn't want to go elsewhere.
I think the question is he willing
that mountain range?
Are they willing to die for that mountain? That's the question.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah, I guess so.
That was
Dragons
one
are
proud
stubborn as
motherfucker.
hell.
Yeah, that was one proud, stubborn motherfucker.
Yeah, but not stubborn enough to not listen to us.
Yeah.
Or
he knew he was outmatched.
But of course, he also probably knows that he can wait us out. That we will die first, and then he'll be strong enough. And of course,
maybe
he
Arya.
will get stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I could 1v1 a dragon.
Sure you could.
Yeah.
Well, by the time, I guess it would grow up a little, but the Amber Eagle, wouldn't have died out in the meantime. Sure, they don't have the legendary heroes, but they still have decent heroes.
And then Arya can pick up the Red King's treachery.
Oh my god.
Arya gotta get buff.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Oof. Well, to be fair,
Now-
I imagine it can't be too heavy if a gnome could wield it in one hand.
I don't know. Grim is a pretty sturdy gnome.
That is true.
But he also didn't have that high a strength score, so.
No.
Yeah.
It would. I would say the Red King's treachery is fairly hefty. Most gnomes would, even if they could carry it, would have to two-hand it. Grim manages to one-hand it. A strong, medium-sized creature like Arya would be able to wield it.
Yeah.
No problem.
But you wouldn't get your dex bonus.
Yeah.
No.
You'd have to use your strength, but it's a magic sword with its own bonuses.
Yeah.
True.
And you'd still get your proficiency of +6.
I mean, what a way to submit my legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you'd be better off finding somebody that can properly wield that kind of sword, and you just use the weapons you're proficient with.
I think I'd still be proficient with it, right?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you would be.
It depends. Is the difference between your dex and your strength more than +3?
Hold on. I have to look it up.
Because if it is, you're better off using your regular weapons.
Because you need 16 strength at least, which I'm
I have 15 strength. Oh.
Well, time's gone in.
Arya can get buff over
Yeah,
time.
I can raise that by 1 point.
Fair.
No, Arya could totally do it.
I one of the things I imagined was that would make no sense, but when Arya helps Sera out, finding the way to the lost what's it called again? The crossroads. And whilst they're like asking for Syrian, so I just need a little bit more strength. Could you help me out?
Could you just like
I
juice
may
me?
need to kill a dragon at some
I
point.
feel like my strength, on a scale of like 1 to 20, my strength is like a 15. I'd really like it to be like a 16.
If it could
Yep.
be like a 16, that would be awesome. Thanks, dude. And he'd be
Tritharian's like, that's oddly specific.
Yeah.
and he's right.
Yep.
Although I feel like that always begs one important question: is strength a linear scale?
Mhm.
Good question.
Who knows?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
I
I
think
feel-
that's the answer that I reckon is most likely. At some point, the dragon is killed, whether it's by all of us, by
Yeah.
less of us, or by just Arya. That dragon
Or
dies.
by a new group of heroes.
Yeah,
Like
or
Yeah.
by a
True.
new-
Yeah,
yeah. That dragon dies at some point.
probably. I feel
Which
like
is
unless we
unfortunate.
like specifically assign someone to
Yeah.
be like dragon manager.
Yeah. One day that dragon gets too big for
Dragon
his.
manager.
Yeah. One day that dragon gets too big for his territory and becomes a threat that cannot be ignored. Whether in our lifetime we decide that, whether new heroes have to go on an adventure to defeat it, or whether the Dragonborn Empire decides that this is the last straw. It's really down to the timeline.
So I've got
True.
eventually meets his end at the hands of the Amber Eagle, whether in our hero's lifetime or another group of heroes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I reckon that's the most likely outcome.
Yeah, that is the most likely outcome.
Yeah. I mean, also, it's only fair that we clean up the issue that we kind of created.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Because we did only do that as a temporary fix because we had bigger problems.
like I said, I don't think it's not so much an issue that we created as that we just ignored.
Yeah. We put it off.
Postponed. Yeah.
Like I said, we all knew that eventually we'd have to go back and sort it because we were
punted the
just putting it
issue.
on pause while we dealt with our lich friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other unresolved threads people would like to bring up?
I feel like there's more that we're missing. Or is there?
If we get to the end of this session and then afterwards people come up with stuff, I'm happy to add to this document because I'm going to give you like the ability to read this document, and we can always add
Yeah.
more to it at another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, if it's a Google Doc, we can just add
Yeah.
whenever.
But yeah, I wanted to give everyone the opportunity to do it now in the officialness of the
Yeah.
session.
We will have our canon document that maybe we'll let Dave see.
What else?
And if this becomes big, like some other time in our lifetime.
After it's finished.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, who's gonna get into it like
Yeah.
after we finished our
Yeah,
5-year
it turns out-
campaign?
It turns
Yeah.
out there's a bunch of people who've been waiting for us to finish the campaign so they can binge it all in one go.
Oh, wow.
No.
Honestly, you're gonna binge watch this prop. Like,
Yeah.
I will send you like a gift card or something.
Yeah,
and you just
Yeah.
If you are watching this, like more than 2 years after this video has come out, well played to you,
Yeah.
sir.
Mhm.
We'll
Well
put we'll,
fucking played.
we'll
I
make the
respect
Second Age
your hustle.
logo into a pin and send it to you. Here you
You
go.
will. You will. Yeah. All you have to do, right? You know what you know, like you know how the channel handle. You can find us. Send us a message on some sort of platform, and we will make you a badge. You can say, "I survived Dungeons and Dragons: The Second Age, and all I got out of it was this lousy badge."
See,
But it'll look
here-
really cool.
You know,
Here's-
someone is going to hold you to this. It's
Do it.
Here's
That's
where
gonna
2
happen.
years from
You know
now,
what?
there's
I have said this. If you guys decide you're not on board with this, I will do it on my own.
No, honestly,
will
if
do
we're
it.
going to the effort of making a pin out of the logo, I would like a pin. Like, I'm just
Right.
saying,
Can we-
like, I'll.
Okay, better idea. Let's all make ourselves a badge of the logo, and then whoever does the thing can have a T-shirt. I survived Dungeons and
Damn.
Dragons: The Second Age, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
anyway.
I'll have the logo on it.
oh, See, this is where in 2 years' time there's going to be this wave of hipster old D&D session rewatching.
I like
In
Dungeons and Dragons: The Second Age before it was cool.
in 2 years' time, there's going to be a
Ooh,
whole
joke.
separate edition of D&D, and this campaign is just going to be completely outclassed. But
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. All the hipsters will be there like, I liked it before it was cool, and Dave's just sitting there. Am I a joke to you?
Yeah.
I joke. Oh my god.
Also, I have a weird feeling now that Dave's gonna be like messaging me once he watches this and goes, "Where's my T-shirt?"
Where's my fucking t-shirt, man?
Yeah.
anyway, any other threads people can think of? Anything else that's burning? Any ideas?
Like
Oh.
I don't like, even though I don't. It's not too important, but at the same time, man, swamp. Like what happened? Like because did we ever figure out what happened in the? Well, I guess we did hear about the Underdark. It was a short side story, but
Oh, you mean that like the swamp thing?
yeah, the swamp thing where we went
Yeah.
into the swamp and down into the Underdark or the Duragar fortress even.
Yeah, and I got poked full of javelin holes.
Yep.
Hmm.
And
That was fun.
And we found out that in a fight between a legion of highly trained, highly skilled soldiers and one beady boy, the beady boy would win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
So
the-
what
That's still my favorite second.
what's the question? What conclusion came of that?
I was like thinking, did we did that actually make a difference in the end?
Yes.
Because I know we stopped them from producing more, but like I imagine like getting a fire elemental was not easy, but with the people involved, there would be resources. I feel like it
Well,
would delay
At the very
things,
least, been
but
set back.
yes. Most importantly, you stole the secrets and killed the person responsible.
oh yeah, we stole the secrets as well.
Yes.
Right.
That was the most important part because I think either Lathari kept it or
Yeah, I'm sure with it.
Simone might have kept it as well, just to make sure it didn't fall into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
But yes, to elaborate on that story, yes, the production of the black steel was thwarted, and it later fed into the smuggling ring that Lathari toppled, because that was being run by the same drow household that were trying to. Once they stopped being able to manufacture them, they started to try and commandeer the black market to get their hands on ones that already existed, which is where the Cabal were involved.
Yeah.
But Lathari dismantled that in her own time.
Yeah. Good. So it's thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, the lizard people we had an ending for.
Yeah. Did we have a discussion with them? Did we get an accord with them?
No, because remember the guy at the outpost?
Well, yeah, I know we had him, but like,
But like he ended up like becoming peaceful and like kind of like being like the middleman, if I remember correctly, for like the
Also
tribe.
Rask.
Oh yeah, Rask is
yeah.
also.
yeah,
Rask is not the same guy that you met at the outpost.
Right.
But yes, your attempts to broker peace between the lizard folk and the elves of the swamp region was successful. You never called on them for any aid, but you did negotiate peace, and they did, like they respected you as warriors, which was what mattered.
So let's see what else is there. I'm just going through the entire campaign slowly. Like, what did we do?
What did we do?
Did our happy
here?
married couple from session 1 stay married?
Oh my god.
Disaster
Oh yeah.
of a wedding.
Yes.
Oh no.
Woohoo!
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Yay.
They had 14 beautiful children now.
Well,
They had a
considering-
decent number of children.
They did not have a Queen Victoria level of children.
Oof.
But do I get to go to Simone and Illiran's wedding?
If you want to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
Oh,
would
yeah,
would
yeah.
definitely invite you after everything that happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Who,
I
who
would
did
be
they invite? Did they
surprised,
invite
yeah.
like the whole party?
Oof. Well,
Probably
like,
not
I
Elizabeth,
don't see why they
probably not
wouldn't.
Elizabeth.
Like, I guess... Well, they might give Elizabeth the courtesy invite, because they are familiar, I guess.
Maybe, I don't know.
But maybe not.
Well, I think the thing is,
You wouldn't be mad if they didn't.
the command of the Amber Eagle is probably invited whoever that entails.
Yeah. Although, depending on when it is, like, you may have, Elizabeth may have set out on her own. Ah, well.
I mean, she
I'm
definitely,
just
no
happy I
matter
got
what she
my
was
wedding.
doing, if she got an, no matter like,
Yeah.
if she gets invited, she takes the time to go,
Yeah.
and Vondel definitely does as well.
Hmm.
At some point, Vondel probably gives Illiran a very large pat on the back that is probably a little too hard, but you know.
Yeah.
Vondel, meanwhile, is too busy married to his job.
Yeah.
Or in the more badass way to put it, the bloodline dies with him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Arya has many hundreds of years to contemplate if she's going to have children.
Yep.
But not too many hundreds. Your
No,
boyfriend
like-
has a shorter lifespan. But he's also younger
Yeah.
than you, so...
sad.
I know. We will not contemplate what happens at that point.
Why does he have a short lifespan? Is he not a full drow? I thought he was.
He's a full drow, but Eladrin
Yeah,
have...
drows don't live as long as the Eladrin.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah. True.
It's only...
Eladrin have like the longest lifespan.
Eladrin are like 200 years longer.
No, fair enough.
On
but,
average.
Like, Aladrin just decided, you know what? We're gonna stick around forever.
Yeah, well, they
It's
have
not
more.
gonna-
They have more of the Fae heritage. That's why, don't
Yes.
they? To them, so
Yeah.
they get a lot of like the longevity.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
sure.
pure blood Fae are technically ageless. And actually, theoretically, if Eladrin stayed in the Feywild, they might potentially be ageless, but it doesn't quite work like that
Yeah.
because of the whole time dilation thing. And
Oh right.
Oh yeah, true.
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Vondel. Oh yeah. Vondel may not have kids though. He definitely gets an apprentice. Someone carries on the forge for him.
See, I didn't know about Grim. Like, I feel like for
Have kids and get married.
like Grim, like it would just be a case of, you know, happen to run into someone. Like, I don't think you'd be against kids.
Grim. Something about the idea of Grim with kids
I
scares
know.
me.
Oh yeah, definitely. Those are gonna be the most chaotic fucking kids you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
You know what?
Grim
There's
definitely has
you know
very
what?
strong uncle vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has
Also,
very
you know
strong.
what? There is definitely a timeline where the party of adventurers that kills that dragon is just all of Grim's kids.
Oh my
All of them are
God.
Grim's kids.
Yeah, it's just an adventuring party consisting entirely of Grim's children.
That would
And
actually be
Arya.
kind of awesome.
And
And
Anti-Arya.
And anti-Arya.
Arya's
Yeah.
like, how did I get stuck with all these
Yeah.
gnome children?
That's okay because one of them somehow turns out to be basically exactly like you, and that one's your favorite. Just this gnome
Yeah.
child who's just like way more interested in shooting a bow and befriending wolves.
And I'm like, hell yeah.
And you're like, how did
Like-
Grim have this child? I love you.
Oh, good.
Oh,
You know, I don't
Yeah.
imagine most of them would be warriors.
Yeah. Does Kelariis ever have a someone?
I don't think so. I don't think that's something that she's really interested in. And also she moves around so much that it's kind of like
Yeah.
there's always more people to help and like
Hmm.
places to go
Mm.
and justice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Justice!
You
She's
know what?
married
Like,
to
I think-
Justice.
Oh no! Important question. What is the relationship like between her and that one dragonborn in the town that had a thing that definitely had a thing for Kelariis? What happened with those two?
I mean, Ferrous does that stick beyond like the initial.
I mean, that entirely depends. Like, she was interested in Kelariis, but she's not going to pursue it if Kelariis doesn't do anything.
See, here's the thing: is I think Kelariis would be very like oblivious to any proper advances besides Cal. Oh, what about Cal? What happens to Cal?
Cal!
Is he okay? Does he become a great bard?
Is he our amazing diplomat that we always hoped he would be?
I
Well,
hope he sings our songs.
there's a
Mhm.
question.
Hmm.
What do we think?
I hope he becomes an excellent bard.
Me too. I hope he succeeds.
Maybe he's not a permanent diplomat, but he's probably the
I
first.
see. I think maybe like he's like our first diplomat, but like it's not that he does a bad job. It just isn't his calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like he's
then
definitely a
finally have the
bard.
and
And then
eventually we have the stable income enough to actually pay a proper diplomat. At which point he's like, finally, I can just be a bard again.
Yeah.
And
I
then
hope that
play
he
every-
writes good epics and he
Yeah.
performs them and is successful.
And he
Yes.
fucking just interrogates all of us one by one about adventures that we have.
He would.
And
Yeah.
depending on how good he is during the tournaments, like either people will love him because he's good or because he's bad.
Oh, I think he's
Oh, he's
good.
good. We decided he's good.
Fair enough.
I don't
I mean,
remember
well,
what his
Arya and I
performance-
heard him.
Yeah, we heard him sing, and he was good.
I reckon. I reckon, like, of all the people he talks, he sits down to get to talk about the adventures. He ends up sat with Elizabeth the longest.
Hmm.
He sat with Arya the shortest because getting her to talk about any of it is just like in any detail is difficult.
No, I think she'd tell some stories.
Yeah, but like I
Yeah.
think the reason, well, like I see why Elizabeth would be number one because it would be hard to keep Elizabeth on the same story.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not even that. It's just that Elizabeth would use so many words for the same story.
Hmm.
It'd be hard
he's
getting her
just
to
like-
stop talking about the story. It's like, okay, I have
Yeah.
enough detail for the song, and Elizabeth's still fucking going.
He's like, okay, I'm just gonna go.
So, for the legacy of Calibor Prankushta, we have serves briefly as a diplomat for the Amber Eagle before writing the epics that immortalized them in the legends of the Second Age.
Hell yeah.
Damn.
Nice.
I'm so proud of him.
Same. Our little
Can't
cow.
believe we just like on a whim. We're just like we gotta adopt this one.
This is how it goes, man.
Yeah. Like I don't know why I'm surprised, but also we really did just adopt this random dragon fort.
Yeah.
Oh,
We saw him and we were like, gotta have.
Gimme
this one, ours.
this one.
You come home with us.
Look, it's not D&D unless you adopt an NPC.
That's true. We adopted several.
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
We definitely fulfilled that criteria.
Yeah.
Hmm. I wonder if our chef gained any satisfaction. Hmm.
Yeah. Did he enjoy his work?
Yeah.
He definitely enjoyed his work. He loved doing the party.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Oh, don't worry, and we'll get him to do many more parties as Elizabeth for the year she's around invites her parent around like twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or does
That's
he one day
good.
go on his world food tour?
Hmm.
Saves up all his
Who
money and then
knows?
one day goes on a holiday to have his world food tour where he travels the world eating all of the food.
Maybe. But yeah. I'm like thinking. I'm pretty sure we've basically had all meaningful characters.
Yeah.
I would be curious about Visastris, but like I don't think I have any input personally. I'm just curious if like I don't know, I guess we ever hear from her or see her again.
I think unless you go directly looking for her, you don't ever see her or hear from her again. But knowing what you know about her, there is definitely some back and forth between the efforts of Lady Hyassa and Visastris, because
Yeah.
they both want the same thing, but they want it in different ways.
Right.
So It's always tricky.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that they can sort it out between the two.
Maybe. It might take a few centuries, but,
They
they've
have
got
time.
Considering one of them is a very powerful sorcerer and one of them is a literal dragon, I'm sure it'll be an interesting resolution.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
they both have a relatively long time to sort it out, because one of them is immortal and one of them is very, very, very long-lived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll figure it out,
Aw.
probably.
It's fine.
God, I've just had possibly one of the dumbest ideas I could possibly have.
Yeah.
Fucking one day Elizabeth somehow managed to do the equivalent of put consciousness in AI.
Oh no.
That doesn't seem
Oh,
like
you
a
did
good
you did
idea.
say you had an interest in researching the Warforged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she turns herself into a warforged. Who knows?
Oh god.
The idea of Elizabeth as a Warforged scares me for some reason, but I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah, there's definitely a
why.
timeline where she's an immortal warforged.
I think it's because like one of the things that keeps like Elizabeth in check is the fact that she's still somewhat like
Yeah.
mortal and
Mortal and weak physically.
has the weak
Yeah.
fleshy bits.
I
Then you
I
turn her
can't
into
believe
a
Elizabeth
robot.
is going to Clovis spray herself.
No!
But she's actually a nice person, unlike Clovis Bray, so it'd probably go better.
He always was a bastard.
Yep. Either that, or she turns into like a nice version of GLaDOS.
Yeah.
Where she's just this big magical like construct in the middle, like in her office in the middle of the school.
I was going to
Who's
say,
that? Oh, don't worry about it. It's just Elizabeth.
It's just this is our founder, Elizabeth, and she's just in there like she just
Chilling.
goes, "I found out how to make this new spell. It's great."
The
She's
new
just living her
students are
best
just
life.
like, is she okay? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
don't worry about it, she's
Yeah,
fine.
she's just living her best life.
Nice.
She turns into a slightly old woman of back in my day. We didn't have these spells.
Oh god.
Yeah, but like I
actually
feel
come
like
up with I did actually remember coming up with ideas of spells that she would end up creating. The main one being she ends up making an abjuration spell called the Topaz Shield.
Yeah.
Which gave different effects depending on the color of topaz that you chose.
Oh, I remember you
Each
talking
effect-
about that.
Yeah. She definitely does come up with quite a few spells, but she's not quite on the level of literally making them like, Tensor's floating disc.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't just name them all like Elizabeth's whatever or a Gaiad's whatever. The only one that's even remotely close to her name would be the Topaz Shield.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any last threads before we look to conclude?
Other than that, we make sure that the party stays fast friends and reunites from time to time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I am one thing that I'm like a little curious about. Would the settlement down in the abyss that got absolutely slaughtered ever be resettled? Or does that not really happen in the abyss?
Oh, the
summoner
school, the demonology school.
Demonology school.
Probably not, considering what happens in the Underdark and in Cindershell as a consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because basically the entirety of the Sisterhood of Lolth was basically decimated in that attack. So probably unlikely.
Yeah, probably worse than decimated actually. Like it was like most of the one, like pretty much everyone there was killed.
Yes, but not everyone who was there was killed, but not every member of the Sisterhood of Lolth was a demonologist.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And being decimated is still pretty bad.
Yes.
Because it's always Like, it's always cool having like cities in weird places,
Yeah.
but not
Well, that's okay. We've got
anymore.
the cities on the elemental planes for that.
True.
And many more places that no doubt Grim and Tiff will discover.
Yeah.
Probably with the help of our of the cartographer.
The Tiff is the.
I think she means the physical object, the cartographer, like
Oh,
the
I
compass
see.
thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Oh,
thing.
wait.
The thing that I made.
Oh wait, wait. Weren't we gonna return a bit of it or something?
Oh,
I-
yeah, we need to find a way to send the compass back to Kaziara.
Well, Kaziara's gone.
Well, like I was thinking,
I
because
guess actually that's probably a thing. Elizabeth probably spends ages waiting for Kaziara's return, like so that she can give her the compass. And
I was more thinking about the Puck's thing, like because we borrowed a bit from Puck.
I know that was the compass, and then we were
Yeah.
like, actually, we're gonna give it to Kaziara because it's hers.
Well,
Oh,
suffice it to say that Puck's interest in the compass declined significantly when you gave him a nuclear warhead to play with.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
his
I read-
his
like,
his
this-
plans like just did a 180 when you gave him that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
like like
Elizabeth
living as
instead just sits with the compass, waiting for Kaziara to come back for it. She never
like
does.
he was being persecuted for his bold ideas. Gave him the weapon to fight back against the tyranny.
Yeah, but
He
And,
became the tyrant.
yeah.
You can't trust the
Yeah.
Fae.
No, you really can't.
Well, as long as
You
they
didn't realize this.
just as long as they keep it amongst themselves for now.
Oh god.
Oof.
That's probably another another problem that Grimm's parents have to deal with. Well, Grimm's kids even.
What?
Grimm's kids eventually.
Yeah, I was gonna say Grimm's parents would not be very useful in that situation.
Yeah, Grimm,
No.
that's another adventure of Grimm's children.
Man, like,
Sorting out the Feywild.
see, I wonder how many because I wonder how many would actually be end up being warriors. Because I feel like Grimm's
there's
whole
the one that Arya likes.
yeah, that's true. But I feel like the whole point of what Grimm did was just ignore the rest, don't copy the rest.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's just find something you want to do instead of just to do what everybody else wants you to do or expects you to do.
Yeah. Well, they'll probably find their own thing. They their own thing they love.
Yeah. Hmm. But that might include some fighters.
It's just they might use a different weapon.
Hmm.
One of Grimm's kids just goes like ham with a fucking two-handed battle axe, like yeah.
Oh yeah, and he borrows my belt every now and then just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Barbarian
goes
gnome.
ham. Yeah.
Yeah, barbarian gnome.
I was gonna say because like a two-handed battle axe, a gnome with a two-handed a gnome
with a
with
great
a
axe.
two-handed battle axe, or as it's known to everyone else, a regular axe.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's just be a gnome with a battle axe that they hold in two hands. Yeah.
I will admit when I
Rather than a
originally
great axe.
considered it, I was like, oh, it would be kind of funny to just have this giant battle axe, but
Oh,
then I was
See,
also like, I don't want
in-
to roll the entire campaign with disadvantage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in my first ever campaign, the halfling barbarian ended up picking up a great axe that once belonged to an orc warlord.
nice.
Cool.
So she basically snapped it off halfway and used it. But she spent the entire campaign having permanent disadvantage to attack, but so she just always raged. So everything was always. Oh, sorry, always
Yeah.
reckless. So it was always
Yeah,
just
almost
regular.
normal.
Yeah.
Unless flanking, in which case they get advantage again, and hey!
Oh. But now, see, what you need is a mithril battle axe, because then it doesn't count as heavy anymore.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
It does lose the heavy
Alternatively-
tag.
Yeah, so there you go. And let's be honest, one of Grimm's kids
Hmm.
becomes an artificer, invents guns.
Well,
No, I feel like-
technically guns already exist.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
One
I
of-
feel
one
like
of-
it's
one of
too
Grimm's
late
kids
for it.
gets on the gun fad.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe.
But we're getting a good party composition here. We've got like the rangery type, we've got the barbarian, we've got the artificer.
Like, and I feel
All it
like
takes now is one of
Wait,
your kids
wait.
wants to be a spy, and you've
I was gonna
got
say we're just making Vox Machina here.
Odd.
see, I'm also kind of like honestly a bigger concern is one of them getting a patron, like people being like
Oh, God.
turning into a warlock. He's like, man, like Grim was a known fella. Maybe we can get a piece of his kids. It's like,
Oh God,
Yeah.
that sounds really sinister.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
Get a piece of his kids,
okay, that's maybe not the best wording, but
and then one of those kids goes, "Fuck it, my patron is Tallithsyr."
maybe.
And,
So let's-
and you,
so let's
Kelariis is
all-
like, Kelariis' soul, like somewhere in death, is like, yeah.
Woohoo!
You go, kid.
Ugh. Honestly, do you know, like that just like
No,
I know that it's not
I've now got the
really.
mental image of that happening, and Tallithsyr just like turning to Kelariis in the afterlife and going, "Do you want to send be in the dreams to that one?"
Oh, so that makes me think of a
Like-
question to round this out.
Yeah.
What does Kelariis do when it's time to put down the artifacts? Does she break them up again?
Oh, does she? I would have imagined Tallithsyr would tell her to go do something with them in particular, or like give them back to him or something.
Trithyrian's not very big on telling people what to do.
Yeah.
That's fair. You know, fair enough.
You know what would be a great place? You know what would be a great place to put them?
Yeah.
In Mardan, behind those trials that you did to get one of them.
I mean, the thing is that I think
Or does Kelariis make her own set of trials? Ooh.
the sword goes to the Sera.
Okay.
Assuming that she's kind of followed that same sort of path, and if the Sera is willing to take up, like, I guess the work that Kelariis has done.
Yeah.
I assume that Trithyrian doesn't like oppose that idea. I hope.
No.
I think the baton. I think I would offer it to Arya because I think that would be something useful to her
The baton.
if she continues to do, because that's the one that can track things down.
Actually, as well, didn't
Oh.
we have a deal with the baton? Like when we were done.
Oh,
with
were
it?
we supposed to take it back?
Yeah, I think we had
Oh.
a deal to take it back and resplit it.
Oh well, no, I'm not going to
you-
resplit it. But I'll
yeah, I was
take
gonna
it
say,
back
you-
if I made a deal.
You did agree to return it, but circumstances have changed since that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess then I might offer that to the Church of Trithyrian in Rourke's Gate. If they no longer have a need for it, I would offer it to Arya, and if not, I would just ask the church to take it.
And that would be interesting, handing an artifact to like the church of a different religion.
No, the Church of Trithyrian.
Oh, okay.
Because-
Give
because-
it to the
return
Church
it.
of Taylor, please.
Because the Church of Tallithsyr now technically is its own independent entity.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would be very appreciative of it if you did return it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that if
pride
if
of place
Arya
like
decides
Woodside
to
and the
take
companions.
the baton because it kind of helps track. I know she's not really into the monster hunting bit as much anymore, and it's not quite the same use. But the idea of being able to perhaps track down individuals with that might be helpful.
That's right. Arya uses
her?
Arya uses it to fucking interrogate those assassins.
That would be one part of
I
it that
feel
she
like that's-
couldn't use.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but she could use like the tracking part of it. I would
Yes,
imagine.
she can use the innately magical properties, but she can't use any of the Trithyrian related parts.
Wow.
Yeah. So if Arya doesn't want it, I would take that back to the church, and if not, I would give the church the spear.
Okay.
Actually, I don't suppose Kelestro has like any thoughts about where it would like to end up.
Sentient.
Oh,
it's like sentient, but
That's a
not-
good question because technically all of the artifacts are sentient, but they're basically a collective consciousness. It's only because they were separated that it was different.
I see.
Does Kelestro have an opinion? That's interesting.
Or I guess does the collective consciousness have an opinion? I guess
Yeah.
about Crolestro.
Like, I think the question is like kind of what you want to achieve with splitting it. Do you want to make it hard to reassemble, or do you just want to?
Not necessarily.
Or are you just trying to keep them safe, so the sword. They don't end up
is
crooked
to
like a
keep
sword.
them. Yeah, my thought is to keep them safe, but also to leave them somewhere where they would be well used in like a good way.
Yeah.
Which is part of why like giving the sword to Tallithsyr just makes sense to me. Arya
Yeah.
having the ability to track people down sounds nice, and I know that Arya won't like misuse it or anything like that.
I will attempt not to.
I trust Kelariis.
Children,
Trusts
where did you
Arya.
go?
Oh my god.
Children gets like kidnapped one day. Arya
Oh
whips
my
out
god.
the baton is just like, bitch, you thought.
It's just Arya using Find My iPhone to stalk her boyfriend.
No, I would be stalking him. This is a legitimate function.
Well, also, like,
She just appears around the corner. That girl.
like not knowing like his location is a security risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. On the plus side, knowing where your boyfriend is at all times means like infinite access to hugs. So who doesn't want that?
Well, I think there'd be an argument for privacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you might not have a boyfriend to hug.
Yeah, there might
Yeah.
be a distinct souring of that relationship.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it's hard to think of because it's just straight up a weapon, really.
I think,
Well,
having thought about it, the aspect of the consciousness that is Crolestro is just interested in being relevant. It doesn't want to be sat in a hole somewhere again.
that's valid. That's so valid. I had a thought, but knowing that that's Crolestro's kind of like desire makes it a little less valid, and I also don't know if it's something that Kelariis would think of so much as something that I thought of as like a thing that would be interesting.
Go ahead.
Which I'll say it just because like I don't think it's what ends up happening, so I'm gonna have to think about it a little bit more. But thinking about Crolestro's history and basically like opposing and toppling tyranny, I guess, or like not maybe tyranny's strong, but like the idea of a sole form of leadership. It would be interesting if Crolestro ended up in the hands of the princess, because her whole involvement led to the end of like an actual monarchy and made it become more of a. Granted, I don't know if the democracy really.
That would be very interesting, especially because she's Helm.
To another god.
Yeah, Helm is a separate entity on the opposite side of the alignment spectrum, but Helm was one of the gods who sided with Tallithsyr in the first place, and was the whole reason he got kicked out of Celestia.
That's right. Way back when. I remember reading that in the lore document when we first started. I didn't even think about that. I think the thing is that Crolestro wouldn't really be put to use in the same way, but also wouldn't be like holed up somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be less used as the weapon, and it'd be more used like as a beacon of cooperation and in and of itself freedom. Like it would be a symbol.
Yeah.
And a very powerful one at that.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting.
I think it's interesting. My hesitance is that I don't know if Kelariis would necessarily think of that, but I, as the player, thought of that as an interesting.
Yeah.
From like a storytelling perspective, I suppose.
You could be asking like for suggestions as Kelariis from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody comes up with it.
Yeah, I can't really think of a better place for it to end up off the top of my head, is the thing.
Yeah,
so.
I think it would be an interesting place for it to end up, and Tallithsyr definitely would not be opposed to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of amusing as well, because it's like, because I feel like the princess kind of did like a Trifarian in a sense, but by
Yeah.
rebelling and going against
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and I mean that was the whole like Ferrous and I talked about it when we had like that short little one-on-one to
Yeah.
discuss stuff, but Kelariis' whole investment with the princess was basically making sure she knew that she always had a choice, even if people were telling her otherwise, and pushing her to like make her own decisions, which it sounds like she
Yeah.
did, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like Kelariis in if that is the ending place or
She.
the
I was gonna say
resting place, quote unquote, of Kelestro, I think she would explain like the history of it
yes.
to the princess.
Yeah.
So it's not like here's the spear, peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thanks? Question
It's like,
mark.
you know,
It's like,
you like the soon I will one day I will pass soon, but I want you to have this. It's been a symbol of freedom and democracy for another
Well,
land and for those.
Maybe not democracy so much
Oh,
as,
yeah.
but like the freedom and opposing like the
Yeah,
form of
the
one
f-
person having a say over all.
Yeah.
I guess that is kind of,
Yeah.
in theory, democracy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I was gonna say Princess Elisad changed the rules so she could marry her boyfriend, reform the church, and destroy the monarchy. So I think she's got a bit of a rebellious streak in her.
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, she did also try to run away with
Yeah.
her childhood love.
Yep.
So like, I think that she gets it, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also because unfortunately the democracy that Crolestro helped create did not last very long.
No.
Sad
But
face.
What do you mean?
well,
I mean, our little campaign where we trolled Jayla for a bit.
Oh, yes. It technically didn't create a democracy.
Well, yeah.
It freed them from a tyrant. It had no hand in what came after.
Well, yeah, true.
Mhm.
But yeah, what happened was nearly democracy.
I still can't get over the fact that y'all had been planning that for months and just like
Oh, it was
Yeah.
so
sprung
good.
it on me, and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
It was so good.
It was pretty funny.
I fucking loved my character in that as well.
Yeah.
I
that's
still
good.
have a great fondness for that character.
Like I almost forgot about my rogue medic.
Yeah, that was a cool concept.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, 'cause
honestly,
because we had double rogue, it was great.
I
Scout rogue.
I particularly enjoyed it because I've always wanted to do the opening a character scene with the character waking up in somebody else's body in somebody else's bed with somebody else, and it worked perfectly.
Yep.
And
It was
Jayla's just like,
definitely-
oh.
I'm just like, I'm gonna just roll with it. Everything's fine.
Yep. And then you actually hit the fucking spear throw at the guy at the top of the gate.
Yep.
Yeah, I was really worried about that. I was like, oh god, if I miss this, we're gonna get like the whole. What a mess.
Snake, you've caused a time paradox.
A time.
Like
Yeah.
you get that thing in
Or-
like the Assassin's Creed games where you fuck up and you
Yeah.
accidentally kill the wrong person. You just like
Desynchronized.
Desynchronized.
Well, then what happened is it'd just be like, congratulations, now we know the truth. She didn't actually hit him. It was just legends that she did.
Oh yeah, that actually just stumbled at the right time. It's like
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Or
Well,
alternatively, like, she throws the spear, it just about misses, and then fucking someone else's character just goes, bow. There we go.
to lift the DM
Oh, no,
veil,
it's him.
to lift the DM veil for a moment, there were really two opportunities with that because, was it was your character Cav who snuck up to the edge to scout it out, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So
I was the scout.
considering it in the moment, Cav could totally have taken a shot.
Yeah.
Or he would have seen the spear coming, like stepped out of the way and slipped and fallen.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the legend would have panned out all the same, but it was just very cool that you hit the shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really
And made
nervous
it
about
true.
missing this shot, and then it hit, and I was like, yes,
Yeah.
success.
The legends are true.
Yeah.
Because my character was the scout person
Yes.
yeah.
with the information.
Yeah.
But yeah. Right.
The only elf. Because
Well,
I remember obviously Ferrous explaining it with the like, oh yeah, look, we have these statues, we have these people, and they were like, the second I heard like, oh yeah, there's this one statue, she's an elf, I was like, bam, that one's me.
Hmm.
Yep.
I'm gonna play that one, Ferrous, please.
yeah.
That's good.
All right. Well, with that, I think
Yeah.
if we're all done, that is the conclusion of Second Age for the last
Yeah.
time.
Oh my god.
Hmm.
No 5 more years. Just
No.
But we
No,
can
but-
look back on the last 5 years and go, wow,
Yeah.
what an adventure we all had together.
I never expected it to go as far as it did, or as well as it did. So,
Yeah.
but yes, I guess for one last time, thank you all for playing. Thank you all for watching, and best of luck on your adventures.
Mm.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.